Chapter 1003. After Lin Jun left the dimensional universe, he walked out of his room and immediately saw Lin and waiting for him. This was the first real meeting between father and son. Lin seemed very excited. "All right, don't be so childish. Let's get ready to go home." "Father, what about brother?" "You don't have to worry about that. I don't have a good solution for the time being. I can only go to the endless race after the heavenly fire war." Lin nodded. Now that he had met his father, he naturally had to listen to his father's orders. After walking out of the room, Lin Jun raised his hand and took out the glaze. "Let's go home." The father and son boarded the ship and rose into the air. Lin Jun installed the divine stones on the ship and immediately sped away. Looking back at the fiery heavenly fire city in the galaxy, Lin Jun closed his eyes and accelerated again. The ship directly entered the speed of light and disappeared into space. It was Lin An's first time on such a ship. He felt very novel and touched everywhere. Lin Jun did not care about his son's curiosity. He was now focused on the cultivation of his domain. In order to cultivate a new domain power, Lin Jun decisively gave up his original galaxy domain. However, he did not give up completely. Lin Jun's galaxy domain was originally a good domain, but it was relatively simple. This time, he wanted to improve it. Lin Jun was proficient in the laws of time and space. He had already thought of a new domain called the space-time galaxy. In addition to starburst, this domain also contained space folding and time freezing. Time freezing was Lin Jun's basic idea for this domain. He wanted to use the intersection of time and space to form an incredible force field in the domain. Either time acceleration, time deceleration, or time freezing. Once such a domain was formed, then the opponent within his domain was basically at his mercy. However, this domain was still lacking. The most important thing was that Lin Jun had not mastered time freezing. Now is not the best time to cultivate. I have to master time freezing first. Then, I can combine the profound meaning of the laws with the domain power to form a powerful force field. If I cultivate now, I'll lack the element of time stop. I'm afraid I'll have to start all over again in the future. Lin Jun thought for a moment and summoned Chris. "Chris, calculate the time of my return trip." "Master, as long as there are enough immortal stones, it would take you about 13 years to return to Heavenly Square City. It only takes you 2 years to return to the Earth's surface from Heavenly Square City." Lin Jun pondered for a moment. The Holy Land of Fallen Stars' 100-year examination is about to begin. After I return to Fallen Star Lake, how long will it take for the examination to begin? After traveling through space for a long time, Lin Jun's concept of time was not very clear. Normally, when you reach Meteor Lake, there are still 18 years before the assessment begins. "Master, after the assessment, you can only stay on the surface of the primordial realm for a year or 2. After that, you will have to embark on the journey home because it will take another 15 years to return to Skyfire City from the surface." Lin Jun nodded and calculated the time. It would take 15 years for Skyfire City to return to the surface. Naturally, it would also take 15 years for the surface to return to Skyfire City. This removed 30 years of time. However, after returning to the surface, he still had 18 years before the tournament began. Lin Jun didn't want to waste this time. He had 24 times time deceleration. These 50 years were equivalent to more than 1,000 years for Lin Jun. I better cultivate time deceleration first before studying domain power. After making up his mind, Lin Jun called Lin over. "Father, are you going to start cultivating?" Lin was also very smart. Of course, he knew that martial artists spent most of their time in boring cultivation. Since his father had such achievements, it was definitely no exception. "That's right. Don't be idle during this period of time. Show me what you have learned. Then, according to your characteristics, I will formulate a cultivation plan for you." Lin was overjoyed. It was great to have a father who was in the top 3 of the Hall of Fame. It could help him cultivate. He didn't expect that Lin would actually become a rich second-generation heir. In the future, he might even become a god's second-generation heir. With a powerful father backing him, this was also the dream of many martial artists. He immediately showed Lin Jun what he had learned. Lin mainly studied sword techniques. His spirit power cultivation had only reached the nascent soul realm recently. After all, he didn't have the heaven-defying talent and luck of Lin Jun. It was already good that he could reach his current level. After Lin Jun saw it, he felt that according to the requirements of ordinary martial artists, Lin was definitely a genius. It was good that he could reach his current level. However, according to Lin Jun's standards, he was far from enough. His spirit power wasn't strong enough. Although he had reached the three-flower realm, the breakthrough was extremely unstable. His astral power hadn't reached the maximum. Now, Lin Jun could even use medicine to help him reach the divine transformation realm. However, his future achievements would be extremely limited. Now, he needed to stabilize Lin An's realm, consolidate his foundation, and do his best to build a solid foundation to improve his combat ability. There were too many things to do. Chris, come up with a training plan for Lin. Now that the dimensional universe is connected to the endless sea of stars, we can let him cultivate his actual combat, mind power, and so on in the dimensional universe. The intensity level, let's use half of what I had back then. Master, cried Chris. Half of yours? Do you know how crazy your training was? How many people in this world can reach half of your talent? Don't train him to death. If the training in the dimensional universe is too intense, it will cause harm to his spirit power. There's also the possibility of death. Lin Jun snorted coldly. Jade can't be made into anything without being cut. I've persevered through alchemy and cultivation. He doesn't do alchemy either. Why can't he persevere? Let's not talk about whether or not he'll die from the training. Even if he dies, I have a way to revive him. Just do as I say. My son, Lin Jun, can't be such a coward. Crazy spread out her hands. All right, you're a god-level alchemist. You have the right to be willful. Then we'll do as you say. Soon, the training plan was drawn up. Lin Jun gave Lin a large sum of money. The surface's currency, the currency of the endless sea of stars. Lin Jun gave Lin a lot of it. This was so that he could use it in the dimensional universe. Linen, take the money and use it to your heart's content. I won't run out of money for you. Just follow this training plan. I only have one request for you, and that is to squeeze out as much of your potential as you can. Don't ever say that you can't hold on. Even if you really can't hold on and die, I'll make sure that you'll be back on your feet soon. Lennon desperately nodded. Father, don't worry. I won't embarrass you. Go. When we return to the surface, I hope you'll be a truly powerful third flowering stage martial artist. At that time, I'll find a chance to let you enter the divine transformation realm. Lennon agreed. Then, he got up and went to another room. In any case, this glazed cruise was a few hundred square meters. It was enough for them to cultivate. After arranging Lin An's matters, Lin Jun began his cultivation. He had crazy set the cruise on autopilot. He had enough divine stones. The first stop was Sky City. After everything was ready, Lin Jun closed the cabin door and sat cross-legged on the bed. His avatar also came out at this time. It sat on the other bed and helped Lin Jun comprehend the eighth picture on the shadowless steps stone steel. This eighth picture wasn't simple. Lin Jun felt that it already involved the realm of gods. He didn't know how much his avatar could comprehend. In the dantian of his main body, at the center of the galaxy, a black hole slowly rotated. Lin Jun's stellar force had already reached the peak of the divine world. If he wanted to make a breakthrough, he could do it now. However, Lin Jun didn't want to advance to the divine stone realm for the time being. His domain wasn't settled yet. Inside the black hole, the star was still slowly condensing. The power of light and fire was constantly pouring into the star. Lin Jun calculated the time. By the time he returned, the star would have finished condensing. Lin Jun's main focus was on time stop. The ethereal divine bell appeared and floated in front of Lin Jun. It slowly rotated. The starry sky pattern on the divine bell attracted Lin Jun deeply. His mental force slowly sank into it. The law of time is the most profound law in the world. Acceleration, deceleration, time stop, and time flow backward. Each one is more difficult than the last. I once had a moment of comprehension about time stop. I still have an impression of that feeling. As long as I can capture that feeling, I can slowly comprehend it. Lin Jun decelerated time, causing the surrounding time to slow down. His mind was empty, and his thoughts were wandering. He tried his best to comprehend the feeling of emptiness. The glaze, on the other hand, was advancing rapidly in the parallel universe. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. To Lin Jun, a year was 24 years. During these 24 years, Lin Jun didn't comprehend the feeling of time stop. After a year, Lin Jun opened his eyes abruptly. No, I know where the problem is. When I'm comprehending time stop, it's not suitable to activate other force fields. I can only comprehend and master it in the most natural state. After figuring this out, Lin Jun decisively turned off the deceleration force field and started comprehending again. Another year had passed. Lin Jun, who was in the midst of cultivation, frowned slightly. A bright point of origin slowly appeared in the pitch-black darkness. The origin extended in Lin Jun's mind and gradually pulled into a line. The line began to fold again, forming a square plane. Lines appeared at the edge of the plane again, extending into the distance, forming a three-dimensional space. This is the formation of space. From a most basic point, to a straight line, to a plane, and then to a three-dimensional space. Finally, there are thousands of changes, forming a bizarre world. Space and time are the same. No one can calculate which came first, time or space. When space was born, time was born. Without the support of space, there would be no foundation for the existence of time. And without the existence of time, there would be no evolution of space. Time and space are one. The formation of the universe, the Big Bang, the birth of the galaxy. Chapter 1004. Lennon finally witnessed his father's cultivation ability. More than 10 years had passed, and Lennon had even overtrained in the training ground, resulting in brain death twice. However, his father's clone would revive him each time. With a single pill, he would be revived on the spot. Such a miraculous method made Lennon worship his father even more. Although the clone also represented his father's will, Lennon instinctively didn't feel close to the clone. He always felt that it wasn't his real father. However, his father had been cultivating in seclusion in his room and hadn't come to see him for more than 10 years. Lennon was quite proud of his cultivation progress. Although his realm hadn't improved, his combat ability had improved by leaps and bounds according to his father's cultivation method. His spiritual power cultivation was also rising steadily. In the past, Lin Jun was most afraid of high-level spirit readers. Now that he had cultivated to the silver level, he was also a pretty good spirit reader. He wanted to report to his father, but his father only appeared for the first time when the spaceship arrived at Sky Square City. It was also Lin N's first time coming to Sky Square City. The prosperity of this place made Lin gasp in amazement, especially his father's medicine stores. They could be described as raking in money every day. His father had left for nearly 30 years and had taken away tens of billions of funds. According to his father, if he had stayed here, the amount of money would have been several times more. His father didn't stay in Sky Square City for long. He only urged Lin to keep up the good work. Then, he went back to his room to cultivate. Just like that, another year passed. Lin gradually noticed that the scenery around him had changed a little. Some space probes began to appear in the spaceship's vision. Those were the primordial realm surface. Various countries had set them up in the starry sky to prevent the sudden attack of the endless races. The spaceship also gradually decelerated at this time. It left the state of superluminal speed and left the parallel universe. Lennon looked at the navigation on the spaceship. In less than a month, the spaceship would arrive at the primordial realm surface. Lennon gradually found it difficult to cultivate in peace because he was about to see his family. And Ning, Annie Su Mingwe, sister Merlin, and his grandparents. It was said that it wasn't a good thing for martial artists to be too attached to their family, as it was easy to be worried and tied down. However, Lin Jun had never taught his child this way. Therefore, their family's familial ties were still relatively strong. Lin would look out of the window for a period of time every day. One day, the spaceship passed by an asteroid belt. After passing through this asteroid belt, they would reach the surface. There were only a few days left, and Lennon couldn't sit still any longer. He went to the window to observe the situation outside. He saw a burning meteor coming from the front. In less than a minute, the meteor would collide with the spaceship. Lennon was suddenly at a loss. His father closed the hatch and forbade him from leaving the spaceship. Lennon couldn't go out and destroy the meteor. The spaceship's firepower control system had long been dismantled in order to pursue extreme speed. He frantically knocked on his father's door, hoping that his father would come out. However, his father ignored him. Until the meteor was about to collide with them, a miracle happened. Lennon was surprised to see that the meteor stopped just as it was about to hit the spaceship. It didn't just stop. It came to a complete standstill. Even the burning flames on the meteor remained strangely distorted and motionless. It was like a painting embedded in space. The spaceship slowly passed by the meteor. Then his father's voice sounded. "Lennon, you're always at a loss and restless. How can you cultivate with such an attitude? Let's not talk about how you don't need to care about this. Even if the meteor really collides with us, it won't be able to damage the spaceship. What are you worrying about? We'll reach the surface in 3 days. In these 3 days, I want you to continue cultivating in peace. You can't be disturbed by anything. If a martial artist doesn't even know what to do, then there's no need for him to cultivate." After being reprimanded by his father, Lennon was sweating profusely. He didn't dare to say anything else and obediently went back to cultivate. In the room, Lin Jun opened his eyes. He took out a watch from his interspatial ring. Lin Jun gently raised his hand, and an invisible force field enveloped it. The hands on the watch suddenly stopped moving. With Lin Jun's eyesight, he could easily see the dust around him. It was floating motionlessly. Success. He had grasped the basics of time stop. From the time he left Skyfire City until now, a full 15 years had passed. 15 years, to Lin Jun, was a full 360 years. 360 years of hard work had finally been exchanged for today's achievements. Fortunately, this period of cultivation didn't go to waste. I finally grasped the basics of time stop. However, the current time stop isn't very useful to me. Those with higher star power than me can rely on their star power to break it. As for those with lower star power than me, I don't need to use time stop to easily kill them. If I want time stop to be useful, then I have to master God's domain as soon as possible. There were less than 3 days to reach the surface of the primordial realm. There wasn't much he could do in such a short time, so Lin Jun didn't start cultivating for the time being. He tried to open the dimensional universe and found that it could already connect the endless sea of stars to the surface of the primordial realm. Looking at the time of the connection, it was actually 5 years ago. So the surface could already communicate with the endless sea of stars 5 years ago. Cultivation really doesn't know how much time has passed. I actually didn't know at all. During this time, Lin Jun had asked Chris to block all information about the dimensional universe and not communicate with anyone to avoid disturbing his cultivation. However, he didn't know that the dimensional universe had already been connected. "Chris, did anyone look for me during this time?" "Master, Matriarch and Ning contacted you 5 years ago, but I blocked it according to your instructions. After that, she didn't send you any more messages." Lin Jun nodded, and Ning was still very sensible. She knew that if he didn't receive any messages, he must be cultivating. However, she should be anxious from waiting. Her husband was still not by her side. She must be missing him very much. "Master, do you want to contact Matriarch and Ning or her family now?" Lin Jun thought for a moment and waved his hand. "No need. I'll be home in 2 days. If I tell them now, they definitely won't be in the mood to cultivate. In the sacred land of Fallen Star Lake, the competition is also very fierce. It's better not to delay." Chris agreed and returned to the dimensional space. Lin Jun sorted out his thoughts and looked at the situation of his clone. In 360 years, his clone had only managed to comprehend 10% of the shadowless steps. This rate of progress left Lin Jun surprised. The shadowless steps were actually so difficult to comprehend. Could it be that comprehending the 8th step required 3,600 years? Thinking about it the other way around, 3,600 years wasn't too bad. Compared to those martial artists who cultivated for millions or even tens of millions of years, 3,600 years wasn't much at all. Compared to the progress of his clones' shadowless steps, there was another matter that left Lin Jun especially happy. After 360 years, Lin Jun had finally finished condensing the black hole star. Temporarily putting aside all other thoughts, Lin Jun's mind entered his dantian. Within his dantian, the star's condensation had already reached its final stage. The power of light and fire constantly gathered above the star. The diameter of this star was actually comparable to the sun. An inconceivably powerful firepower spread across the star. Any ordinary object that touched it would immediately be vaporized. Bright white flames crisscrossed the star, making Lin Jun feel as if he could see the scene of a star exploding in the past. Driven by his mind power, streams of energy gathered above. Lin Jun began to deal with everything. He removed all the discordant energy and gathered more energy towards the center. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. CSI. It's almost done. Lin Jun gathered his energy body, gathered his power, and smashed it over. A ball of light that was dazzling enough to blind people erupted. It was as if tens of millions of nuclear bombs had exploded together. A powerful heat wave brushed past Lin Jun's mind power, and a new star was born. If this star was brought to the solar system, its power and heat would be even higher than the sun. After all, the sun had existed for countless years, and its heat was no longer at its peak. On the other hand, this star was younger and more energetic. So strong, Lin Jun felt a surge of emotions when he felt this powerful force. It spun in the black hole and even illuminated the interior of the black hole. This star could allow Lin Jun to unleash a true star explosion. The power was so great that it was enough to defeat all powerful enemies. He dare not say that it could kill gods, but any Hall of the Exalted level opponent would not be able to withstand this star explosion. This star must not be used easily. This is a blow that can change the situation. It must be used when it's most needed. Lin Jun calmed his mind for a while and wondered if he could continue to condense a second star. However, Lin Jun's many attempts were to no avail. It seemed that there could only be one star in this black hole. Forget it. There can't be two rulers in a country, and there can't be two suns in the sky. If two stars coexist, the final result will be to gather together and then collide under the strong gravitational force of each other. That would be troublesome. Giving up the idea of having two stars at the same time, Lin Jun withdrew his mind power. Looking out the window, Lin Jun was pleasantly surprised to find that there was a boundless land a few hundred kilometers below. No, it should be said that it was a boundless ocean. Lake water. There's lake water everywhere. It's so huge that even a falling star can't cause any waves in the lake. This is the Fallen Star Lake. Chapter 1005. Fallen Star Lake, Sacred Land, Heaven Class. It had been 80 years since Lin Jun had left this place. When Lin Jun left, his family members had all entered the Fallen Star Lake, Sacred Land, and were now Heaven Class students. Fallen Star Lake recruited students once every 10 years. Now, Lin Jun's family members were all veteran students here, and Ning, Su Mingwei, and Mayor Lin were now the best of the Heaven Class. The Angel Sisters and Ling were also in the Heaven Class and ranked in the upper middle. As for Lin Liye, Li Qin, and the others, they didn't enter Fallen Star Lake because of their aptitudes. They remained in the Kirin clan's tribe to cultivate. The 6 beauties of the Heaven Class had long been the most beautiful scenery in the Fallen Star Lake Sacred Land. The waves of the lake slapped against the shore, stirring up water vapor that soared into the sky and drew beautiful rainbows in the air. On the cliff by the lake shore, a martial artist in a green robe sat there cross-legged. He was almost one with the world, like a rock that had been there since ancient times. His hands were constantly drawing mysterious trajectories in the air. From time to time, a mirror-like fault would appear in the space around him. He had been like this for 5 years. In these 5 years, he hadn't opened his eyes or left the cliff. The people below would occasionally glance at him as they cultivated with envy in their eyes. This was the strongest person in Fallen Star Lake's Heaven class, Gabriel, an undefeated legend. Gabriel was the best of the Heaven class and ranked first. He had been in the Heaven class for 70 years and entered Fallen Star Lake in the same year as Lin Jun's family. He had won first place in the competition that year and entered Fallen Star Lake as the first place. After that, his cultivation in Fallen Star Lake was very smooth. He comprehended the stone tablets very quickly and even received praise from 5th senior brother Jean Nua, saying that he was a genius that was hard to come by in 100 years. Gabriel was very confident. The geniuses of the blazing angel race had already cultivated to the peak of the three-flower realm. As long as he wanted to, he could enter the divine transformation realm at any time. On the ground, it was very rare to see a divine transformation realm martial artist. This was because after a martial artist reached the divine transformation realm, they would head to the endless sea of stars to cultivate. The ground was no longer suitable for them to continue progressing. Gabriel didn't want to leave for the time being. The Fallen Star Lake tournament would begin in 20 years, and Gabriel had an even greater goal. Guarding the holy land of Fallen Star Lake was Gabriel's true goal. However, he knew that it would be difficult to achieve this goal. That was because there was still a great god standing in front of him at the Meteor Lake. That was the almost omnipotent Lin Jun that people spoke of. Lin Jun was like an omnipresent shadow that constantly loomed over Gabriel's head. However, Gabriel didn't think that Lin Jun was as amazing as the legends made him out to be. When Lin Jun left the Holy Land, he was only a peak world king. It was simply impossible for him to contend with the current him. 70 years had passed. No matter how high Lin Jun's boundary was, just how high could he reach? Longevity might not be a problem, but he definitely wouldn't be able to reach the Three Flowers realm. Gabriel was the strongest powerhouse amongst the Three Flowers. He believed that even a divine transformation powerhouse wouldn't be his match. Success. Ice crystals filled the air, and mirrors appeared one after another, forming a power that seemed to be able to cut through space. With hostility towards Lin Jun in his heart, Gabriel actually made a breakthrough. The cultivation method he practiced was called the Universe Bright Mirror Art, and it had finally reached large success. Faint traces of space strength shot out in all directions, cutting apart the waves that crashed onto the shore. For the first time in 5 years, Gabriel opened his eyes. Lin Jun, it's best if you don't come back. Otherwise, I will let you know just who is the best successor to guard the Fallen Star Lake Holy Land. If I stabilize a bit more, then I can go to the 33 Heavens Pagoda. Gabriel let out a long breath. For the first time in 5 years, he had opened a dimensional universe. The ground can connect to the endless sea of stars? When did this happen? Gabriel hesitated. For the time being, he didn't open the information about the endless sea of stars. He knew that this was a critical moment for him. It wouldn't be good for him to receive too much information for now. Athena, Gabriel sent out a call. He was looking for his woman. Athena was his woman, but not his wife. She was currently in the Fallen Star Lake Heavenly Shift. Gabriel, you're out. Athena's surprised voice sounded. Yes, I've finished cultivating the universe bright mirror art. It's time for us to hold our heads high. After saying this, Gabriel closed the dimensional universe. He still needed some time to stabilize his boundary. Athena had always been at odds with Lin Jun's family. She had even wanted to cause trouble for the little fairies in Lin Jun's family for a long time. However, Gabriel felt that his 5th senior apprentice brother Jean Nua had a good relationship with Lin Jun, so he didn't act rashly. However, Gabriel believed that an expert like his 5th senior apprentice brother only cared about the strong. As long as he showed that he was stronger than Lin Jun, his 5th senior apprentice brother would definitely side with him. Moreover, after years of observation, his 5th senior apprentice brother didn't seem to care much about the women in Lin Jun's family. Now that he had achieved great success, it was time for Athena to move around. In a corner of the Heavenly Shift, Athena, who had also been in seclusion for 5 years, stood up excitedly. Her blonde hair swayed in the wind, and her face was filled with excitement. This is great. Gabriel has finally succeeded. With him as his backing, fifth senior apprentice brother will definitely not side with those foxes. You're so pretentious and annoying. I'll let you all know that I, Athena, am most beautiful and powerful female student in the Fallen Star Lake Heavenly Shift. Asterisk, 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 beep, beep, beep. This is the Great Qin Empire's Air Defense Force. Incoming airship, please register your identity. You have 1 minute. If you don't register in 1 minute, you will be shot down by our air defense force. When the Valurium was a few hundred kilometers above the Fallen Star Lake, it immediately received a message from the Great Qin Empire. Waves of signals were received on the screen, and Lin Jun and Lin and came to the screen. Lin Jun had just tested Lin An's cultivation results during this period, and Lin Jun was very satisfied with the results. With his talent and strong willpower, Lin An had finally endured the hellish training that Lin Jun had arranged for him. Although Lin An was only at the pinnacle of the three-flower realm, in Lin Jun's opinion, ordinary late-stage divine, while cultivators were probably no match for him. Lin Jun also taught Lin An a few moves. Just as he finished teaching, the waves of signals came. "Father, what do we do?" Lin An was suddenly a little flustered. Lin Jun, who was quite satisfied with him just a moment ago, frowned angrily. "What do we do?" "Just register your identity." "Do they dare to shoot at me, even though they know it's me?" Lin An shrunk his neck. He had just arrived in the primordial realm when he was teleported to the endless sea of stars. He had never lived in the primordial realm before, so he didn't know much about the things here. After fiddling with the Valurium's control panel for a while, Lin Jun replied to the message. It's Lord Lin Jun." The screen flashed, and the image of the Air Defense Force was immediately transmitted. A few soldiers, led by an officer, saluted Lin Jun in unison. Lin Jun waved his hand indifferently and turned off the communication. The airship urgently needed to continue its journey. Lin An, who was beside him, was a little dumbfounded. It turned out that his father's power in the primordial realm was so great that even the country's army had to salute him. Lin Jun didn't explain anything about this matter. It wasn't just the Qin nation. In fact, there were more than 1,400 countries in the primordial realm that regarded Lin Jun as an honorary citizen. He could enjoy all public facilities for free, as well as many special treatments. These were things that ordinary people wouldn't even dare to think about in their lifetime, but for the current Lin Jun, they were not worth mentioning. The airship slowly swept past the Fallen Star Lake. Feeling the monstrous waves, Lin Jun was a little emotional. He was finally going to see his family, his parents, wife, and children. Xian Er, who was waiting for him alone in the Qin nation. There was also little Phoenix, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. He wondered how she was doing in the Twin Trees Garden Holy Land. Splash! A huge whale rushed out of the water. Its mountain-like body brought up huge waves, and Lin An couldn't help but exclaim, "Father, isn't this ocean too big? I feel like it's bigger than a planet." It's not just a planet. Even if 10,000 planets fell into this lake, they wouldn't be able to cause any waves. Lin An was secretly shocked. He felt the huge difference between the primordial realm and the new territories. Although the airship had slowed down, the speed of the Valurium was still very fast. After entering the foggy area, passing through the portal and exiting about an hour later, the Picking Stars Island was in sight. "Father, there's a continent in front." "That's not a continent. It's just an island. Your mother, Auntie Sue, and your sister are all here." When Lin An heard this, he immediately stood up excitedly. After not seeing his family for decades, Lin An missed them even more than Lin Jun. The airship accelerated again and soon arrived above the Picking Stars Island. Some servants and low-level students saw the airship and looked up. They didn't know where this strange airship came from. Lin Jun looked down from the airship. He could clearly see the areas of a few classes and the 33 Heavens Pagoda in the distance. He even saw Lin Jun's old house in the residential area. "Father, where are we going? Are we going to see Mother and the others immediately?" Lin Jun thought for a while and shook his head slightly. "No, Come with me to the Jingxin sect and meet fifth senior brother. This year is also the day when the Holy Land is recruiting new students. You can enter the Holy Land directly for the assessment. Lin didn't object. Although he missed his mother very much, he still had to listen to his father's arrangements. Lin Jun had just finished talking to Lin when he heard fifth senior brother Jean Nua's voice. Chapter 1006. Lin Jun accelerated, and the flying ship passed through the mountains and arrived at fifth senior brother's residence. Jingxin sect was just a small house with a small bridge and flowing water and a bamboo path leading to a secluded area. Jean Nua usually lived here, and it was also the residence of the previous Holy Land Guardians. Lin Jun got off the flying ship, and Lin followed closely behind. The bamboo bridge made of green bamboo creaked as they stepped on it. It was Lin Jun's first time here. Flowing water flowed onto the bridge. Although the stream was not too wide, it was deep enough. Golden carps could be seen swimming in the water from time to time. Splash! A large tail rose and fell on the water surface. Lin's eyes widened. Dragon. Father, that's a dragon. Lin Jun glared at him fiercely. His son was still making a fuss over nothing. Lin immediately shut his mouth. Looking at the clouds and cranes flying around, he thought to himself, this is really a paradise on earth. They came to the wooden house at the end of the bridge. There was a couplet on it. The first line read, "The sky is the chessboard, and the stars are the chess pieces. In chess, there is no opponent." The second line read, "The earth is the pipa, and the road is the string. Who can listen when played?" In the middle were the words, Jingxin sect. Seeing the words, Jingxin sect, Lin Jun was immediately attracted by its artistic conception. These words seemed to have a magical power that directly invaded one's mind. Lin Jun was immersed in it and could not extricate himself. All the distracting thoughts in his mind disappeared at this moment. He stood there and watched. Lin was not affected at all. Seeing that his father was not leaving, he could not help but ask, "Father, aren't we going in?" Lin Jun was enlightened, and he could not help but be in awe. He didn't know who wrote these words, but they could actually affect his mind. This was simply inconceivable. Even if it was a god, Lin Jun did not think that he could affect him with these words. He wanted to continue meditating, but he had other things to do now, so he could only put it aside for now. He brought Lin into the door, and before he knocked, the door opened automatically. The aroma of tea drifted out. Lin Jun smiled and walked in. In the hall, in front of a square table, Jean Nua was fiddling with a few tea bowls. That rich tea fragrance made people feel relaxed and happy. Hee, you're really lucky. I just had a friend send me the whirling tea from the mother tree of the Doubletree Garden, and you came back. You're really lucky. Lin Jun also smiled. I've always thought that my luck was pretty good. It seems that today, fifth senior brother has confirmed it. Loquacious, have a seat. Is this your child? My son, Lin, and his elder brother are twins. They were separated when they came to the primordial realm. I just found them. Your bone structure is not bad. Since it's our first meeting, fifth martial uncle doesn't have anything to give you. Take this bamboo sword and play with it. Jean Nua casually handed over a 3 feet long green bamboo from the table to Lin and was a little scared. Although he didn't know who Jean Nua was, there was no doubt that she was a top-notch expert. He didn't know if he should accept something she gave him. Lin Jun smiled. How could something given by your fifth martial uncle be bad? Take it. This is your good fortune. Lin also nodded excitedly and bowed to Jean Nua. Thank you, fifth martial uncle. He picked up the bamboo sword and gently pulled it out. The cold light that shot out in all directions almost blinded his eyes. Lin Jun also narrowed his eyes slightly. This was actually a pinnacle upper-grade true treasure. Lin Jun himself didn't have such a good offensive weapon. He didn't expect his son to get it before him. Jean Nua glanced at Lin Jun. You're so capable now. I don't have anything good to give you. You won't fight with your son, right? Haha. Fifth martial brother really knows how to joke. Lin Jun picked up the teacup and took a sip. He felt a lingering fragrance in his mouth. His spiritual power rippled, and even the star power in his dantian seemed to be fluctuating. He had a faint feeling that he was about to break through. It's really good tea. It's amazing. Jean Nua also took a sip. Indeed, the two trees in the twin trees garden are priceless treasures. You must remember not to drink too much. Otherwise, you won't be able to suppress your breakthrough. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Fifth Marshall brother really has sharp eyes. I can't hide anything from you. Huh, what sharp eyes do I have? Now that the dimensional universe is connected to the endless sea of stars, it's much more convenient than before. Everything can be checked directly. I also know about most of your matters. What do you think of my performance, Fifth Marshall brother? Lin Jin asked. Jean Nua smiled. You want me to praise you? Although I don't like to praise people, I have to say that your performance was far beyond my expectations. It seems that the Fallen Star Lake Holy Land doesn't need to consider anyone else. As long as you can survive the Heavenly Fire Great War, then I can retire with honor and give up my position. It seems that Fifth Marshall brother also has some understanding of the Heavenly Fire Great War. I do have some understanding. In fact, I've also participated in the Heavenly Fire Great War. However, that was too long ago. I've almost forgotten it now. Moreover, the previous Heavenly Fire Great War is different from this one. Jean Nua sighed. This Heavenly Fire Great War is a war that concerns the survival of the two major races. Especially you. I'm afraid that many people from the endless races will want to get rid of you as soon as possible. So, you'd better be mentally prepared. Fifth Marshall brother, don't worry. I met Third Marshall brother Lelo. He taught me about the realm of gods. I'm preparing to cultivate. Oh, you met Third Marshall brother? That's your good fortune. Then, you should cultivate well. There's nothing to worry about here for the time being. There's still 20 years until the Centennial Tournament. Lin Jin nodded in agreement. The two of them chatted for a while. Then Lin Jin said goodbye. Go. Remember to challenge the Tower of Trastrimsa. Your family seems to be there now. You haven't returned for so many years. If you don't do something, I'm afraid that some people won't be convinced. After all, many newcomers don't recognize you anymore. Lin Jun smiled. Thank you for the reminder, Fifth Marshall brother. I'll be going now. He left the meditation house with Lin En and returned to the front of the spaceship outside the door. He raised his hand and stored the spaceship into the realm of gods. Lin Jun said to Lin and Son, let's go. Father will bring you to try a new type of transportation today. Is there a better transportation tool than that spaceship? In Lin An's opinion, the Valurium was already a masterpiece. It could be said to be the strongest spaceship. How could there be a better one? There's always a better mountain. I'll let you broaden your horizons. Kacha, rumble. After a loud sound, thunderclouds rose up from below. Flashes of lightning shot out in all directions, startling the fish and dragons in the water and the birds in the sky. Lennon was so frightened that his hair stood on end. Of course, it could also be because of the lightning. Let's go and see your mother and the rest. He pulled Lennon onto the thunderclouds. The flashes of lightning didn't attack Lennon. The father and son rose into the sky and headed straight for the Tower of Trastrimsa. The Tower of Trastrimsa had always been the most lively place among the four great sacred grounds, especially every 10 years before and after the newcomers entered the sacred grounds. This place would be packed with people every day. The older students wanted to check the results of their cultivation over the past 10 years. The newcomers wanted to check their current standards. Everyone was gathered during this period of time. With so many people, there would often be some disputes. Among the four great sacred grounds of the primordial realm, the Fallen Star Lake was vaguely in the leading position. Because Lin Jun had brought about a huge commotion, many people came because of his reputation. There were still a few days before the entrance examination for the new students. During this period of time, the older students would come to the Tower of Trastrimsa to challenge themselves. The Tower of Trastrimsa wasn't a place that could accommodate an unlimited number of people. There was also a limit to the number of people who could enter. When there were fewer people, it didn't matter. But when there were more people, there would still be a queue. Heaven, Earth, Mystic, Yellow, Universe, and Chaos. Usually, the students in these classes would be ranked. But when they arrived at the Tower of Trastrimsa, they had to pay attention to first come, first served. Whoever arrived first would be the first to challenge. In the queue, there were a few people who were especially eye-catching. They were 6 women, stunning beauties. The 6 women were all very charming. At the front was the cold and elegant Ning. Beside Ning, the pure and gentle Su Mingyue smiled faintly like an orchid. She was conversing with Ning in a low voice. Beside Su Mingyue, the long-haired and pretty Mayor Lin was lazily hugging her mother's waist. She had already cultivated to the early 3-flower realm, but she was still a child who hadn't grown up yet. Behind them, a pair of beautiful angel twins were standing hand in hand. They were the big and little angels. There was also a delicate little fairy beauty. She was exquisite and elegant to the extreme. She was helping Mayor Lin tidy up something. She was completely like a good older sister. There were a total of 7 girls in this batch of Heaven class students. It was known as the batch with the most girls. And these 6 people were all legends of the sacred grounds. They were the family of Senior Lin Jun. Lin Jun had left the sacred grounds of Fallen Star Lake for 70 to 80 years. 5 years ago, the primordial realm surface and the endless sea of stars exchanged information. News about Lin Jun also gradually spread. Except for those who had been in seclusion for a long time and didn't care about worldly affairs, many people knew about Lin Jun's magnificent achievements in the endless sea of stars. Influenced by Lin Jun, many people in Fallen Star Lake respected the 6 beauties of the Lin family. Moreover, the 6 of them were really pleasing to the eye. Such beautiful people deserved better treatment. While the 6 of them were lining up, a warrior in front suddenly turned around and said to Ning, "Ning, your family can come in front of me. The sooner the challenge ends, the sooner we can go back. We don't have to wait in line and suffer." And Ning hurriedly waved her hand. No. You came first. It's better if you go in front. We can wait for a while." "Hey, you're too polite. Senior Lin Jun is my idol. I can achieve what I have today because of Senior Lin Jun's encouragement. To be able to do something for his family is not a hardship to me. In fact, I'm happy to do it. In the future, I can also brag to others that I know Senior Lin's family." Ha ha ha. This straightforward warrior's words made Ning and the rest laugh. Since he was so sincere, it was hard to refute. And Ning nodded and was about to go forward with Su Mingyue and the rest. But before they could take a step, another female voice suddenly came from behind them. Chapter 1007. And Ning and the others frowned when they heard this voice. There were a total of 7 female students in the Fallen Star Lake Heaven class. Other than the 6 from Lin Jun's family, there was also a woman called Athena. This woman's strength was not bad. She was the woman of Gabriel, the current number 1 in the Heaven class. Gabriel had taken first place in his 3rd year in the Fallen Star Lake. It could be said that he was currently the most popular person here. As his woman, Athena's status naturally rose along with him. And Ning and the others knew that Gabriel had the intention to compete with Lin Jun. Many people said that Lin Jun would inherit the Fallen Star Lake sacred land in the future. However, Gabriel was not convinced. Originally, the extra-dimensional universe was connected to the endless sea of stars. Now, many people knew about Lin Jun's glory in the endless sea of stars. And Ning and the others thought that Gabriel should have given up on competing with Lin Jun. However, it seemed that Gabriel and Athena did not know about this matter. This was not strange at all. The martial arts atmosphere in the Fallen Star Lake was very strong. Many people were in seclusion and would only come to the Treastrimsa Heaven Pagoda once every 10 years. They knew nothing about the outside world. Some people even only came out once every few decades. They usually did not ask about what had happened in the past few decades. Because there was too much information, they simply chose to ignore it. Hearing Athena's provocative voice, and Ning, who was about to walk forward, stopped. She did not want to give others too many excuses. She glanced at Su Mingyue. Su Mingyue also shook her head slightly. "Forget it, Sister Ning. We are not short of one position. Let's wait." Since the 2 matriarchs had spoken, Ling and Angel naturally did not say anything. However, Mayor Lin was a little uncomfortable. Growing up by her mother's side, Mayor Lin was well protected. Her personality was still somewhat pure. This woman, called Athena, always liked to find trouble for no reason. Mayor Lin had tolerated her for a long time. Hearing her unpleasant words, Mayor Lin immediately retorted without mercy. "Oomph." Some people just didn't know what was good for them and didn't want to talk to her. She thought they were afraid of her. You can't talk about ability, but you still say that others are showing off their looks. You want to show off, but you have to be considerate. You silly girl. Athena was furious. She was also a beautiful woman, but Lin Zhen's family's genes were too good. Athena couldn't be compared to Lin Zhen. Mayor Lin raised her little nose and said, "What silly girl? You're the silly one. Don't you know that?" Athena's chest heaved up and down as she tried her best to calm her breathing for a long time before she finally calmed down. "Forget it. I won't argue with a brat like you. You don't have to be too proud either. The man isn't by your side, so all of you should restrain yourselves. We don't even know if the person you're pinning your hopes on is dead or alive. Who knows? He might never come back." And Ning and Su Mingyue's expressions changed at the same time. Athena's words had touched their bottom line, and Ning stared at Athena and said, "Miss Athena, you'd better watch your words. We have no enmity with you, so what right do you have to make things difficult for us? Now you're cursing my husband. If you apologize now, we'll let this matter go. Otherwise, we won't let it go." And Ning's sudden burst of aura caused Athena's breath to stagnate. And Ning was also at the peak of the three-flower realm. In every 10-year assessment, she and Su Mingyue were always in second and third place. Sometimes she would be second, sometimes she would be second. Athena's ranking in the heavenly class was similar to Ling, Angel, and even Mayor Lin. In terms of true strength, she was no match for Ning. If it were any other time, she would have backed down. However, when she thought of Gabriel's successful breakthrough, she regained her confidence. "What did I say? Your husband is already yesterday's flower. Although he had some small achievements back then, 70 to 80 years have passed. Things have long changed. Now, the future of Fallen Star Lake still depends on Gabriel. Don't tell me that we can count on you flirtatious women," Athena said and snorted. "Your husband is not here, and your son might have died a long time ago. What are you pretending for? How dare you?" And Ning could not hold it in anymore. Her son's absence had always been a pain in her heart. She had always hoped that Lin Zhen would bring her good news, but Lin Zhen might be in seclusion, and Ning could not disturb him, so she could only wait patiently. She did not expect Athena to touch her sore spot, and Ning could not take it anymore. However, before Ning could do anything, Mayor Lin attacked first. Although Su Mingyue was Mayor Lin's birth mother, and Ning had treated Mayor Lin like her own daughter for thousands of years, their relationship was much deeper than that of an ordinary mother and daughter. How could she tolerate Athena's provocation? Lin Mayor raised her hand and sent a palm strike towards Athena. Since Athena had already shed all pretense of cordiality, she did not care anymore. Although she was no match for Ning, she did not care about Mayor Lin. In the process of breaking through the tower several times, she was still able to slightly suppress Lin Mayor. Therefore, when Mayor Lin attacked, Athena immediately retaliated. The two beautiful women fought on the spot, but they were careful to control their astral powers. Otherwise, it would affect others. It was a battle of skills and battle experience. However, Athena did not expect Mayor Lin to be on par with her in terms of astral power control. In fact, she was even better. Compared to Mayor Lin, Athena's advantage was her astral power, not her skills. Not just in the new domain, but even in the entire primordial realm, Lin Mayor could be considered to have inherited her family's knowledge. When Lin Zhen was with her family, she would impart everything she learned and knew according to everyone's battle characteristics without holding back. Even if they could not learn it in a short time, Lin Zhen would record all the techniques in their dimensional universes. Although Mayor Lin was at the early stage of the three-flower realm, she had learned many of Lin Zhen's secret techniques. In a battle of astral power control, Athena could not gain the upper hand. Her slender hands turned into palm shadows. Mayor Lin used Lin Zhen's tidal intent to launch a powerful attack. Although this kind of hand-to-hand combat was limited, Athena did not want to lose to Mayor Lin. Seeing that Lin Mayor's attacks were like a never-ending tide, She knew that she had no chance of winning at all. Athena rolled her eyes and suddenly made a vicious move. Just as Mayor Lin attacked, Athena's astral power suddenly erupted, and she slashed out with a series of hand blades. Hand blades were one of the most common techniques used by martial artists. However, martial artists were very powerful. Hand blades that contained astral power were enough to split mountains. This sneak attack was very sudden. If Mayor Lin was not careful, she would be seriously injured. Su Mingwei cried out in alarm. She was very worried about her daughter and wanted to help. However, Mayor Lin did not panic at all. She seemed to be prepared for Athena's sneak attack. She used shadowless steps and narrowly avoided the attack. At the same time, Mayor Lin counterattacked. She raised one hand, and a spatial crack appeared. Spatial cut. This was a technique she had learned from her father. The spatial crack appeared in the path of Athena's fierce attack. Spatial cut was an extremely powerful technique. Although Mayor Lin's speed was not fast, if she used it well, in theory, it could cut through almost everything. Unless there was an even stronger astral power blocking it, it would be a sure kill attack. Athena rushed forward too fiercely and had no time to dodge. She was shocked and hurriedly released all the astral power in her body. Cramming at the last minute was useful. The astral power blocked the spatial cut, but Athena was also sent flying and tumbled back. She slid on the ground for dozens of meters and spat out a mouthful of blood. You are so vicious. Athena pointed at Mayor Lin and complained. Mayor Lin was delighted that her attack had succeeded. She raised her little nose and said, "Humph, you were the one who struck first. Father told me long ago that one must always be on guard against others. If you hadn't struck first, I wouldn't have used this trick to deal with you. You asked for it. You deserve it." Mayor Lin made a face at Athena, who was so angry that she spat out blood. "Su Mingwei, this is the daughter you taught. Gabriel will not let you go." Su Mingwei pulled Mayor Lin over. Her gentle face was covered with a layer of frost. "Athena, you provoked me first. You insulted my husband and attacked my daughter first. It doesn't matter who you find. It's useless." Okay. Su Mingwei is usually gentle and soft, so I thought you were a kind person. Now, it seems that you are just a mother hen protecting her children. You are bullying me because you have more people. Don't be arrogant. I will call Gabriel over." Athena saw that she could not gain the upper hand against the 6 of them. She immediately asked Gabriel for help. A message was sent from a dimensional universe, and Gabriel received it. Soon, a figure rushed over from the Sky class's forest of stone steels. The surrounding students, on the other hand, looked at Su Mingwei and the other 5 girls with worried expressions. Gabriel's strength was not something that ordinary people could resist. Su Mingwei and the others were afraid that they would not be able to gain the upper hand. In less than a minute, Gabriel arrived in front of the tower of Trastrimsa. The surrounding crowd parted to make way for Gabriel. Gabriel did not look sideways. His whole body was like a javelin, showing off its sharpness. He walked all the way to Athena. "Gabriel," Athena said in a delicate voice, feeling wronged. Gabriel reached out and pulled Athena up. He patted her shoulder lightly. "You have been wronged. Now you just have to watch the show. I will take care of everything." "Okay, I will listen to you." Athena nodded. At the same time, she gave Su Mingwei and the others a provocative look. However, Su Mingwei and Ning ignored her. They all looked at Gabriel. Gabriel had his hands behind his back. He looked down at the girls with his tall stature. Gabriel glanced at the girls and snorted. Chapter 1008. After Gabriel finished speaking, a cold aura emanated from his body. Standing in the crowd, he was like a high-powered human-shaped air conditioner, causing everyone around him to feel a chill. This chill was partly due to his own strength, partly due to his deterrence, and partly due to the fear in people's hearts towards the strong. When the strong were angered, rivers of blood would flow. This kind of thing was all too common among warriors. They just didn't know if Gabriel really had the courage to touch Lin Jun's family. It was hard to say, and Ning and Su Mingwei were the 2nd and 3rd in the heaven class. If they worked together, they should be able to resist Gabriel. After Gabriel finished speaking, Su Minghua also said with a serious expression, "Gabriel, we didn't mean that. If you don't know the cause and effect of this matter, I believe that everyone present can send you a video. If you insist that we are wrong, then we have nothing to say. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. However, we are not afraid of you." Ha! Ha ha! Gabriel let out a long laugh. "Good. You are indeed courageous to be able to say such words in the face of my deterrence. Do you think that you can go against me with numbers? Then you guys are too naive." Gabriel's gaze scanned the crowd. Among the students of the Holy Land, although I'm currently the number one, I know that many people are convinced by Lin Jun and not me. They think that Lin Jun is the future of the Holy Land. But you may not understand me, Gabriel. In my dictionary, the word number 2 has never appeared. It doesn't matter who is right or wrong in today's matter. What matters is that my woman was beaten up, and I must avenge her. It doesn't matter if you're Lin Jun's family or not. Even if he were here today, he wouldn't be able to stop anything. Gabriel's gaze fell on the crowd again. If any of you are unconvinced or dissatisfied, you can come out now. Let me see if Lin Jun's reputation can give you the courage to not fear death. The surrounding people looked at each other. Although some of them respected Lin Jun, it didn't mean that they would sacrifice anything for Lin Jun. The old students had already graduated and left. Lin Jun was already considered a senior student. Most of them hadn't met Lin Jun before. Of course, they didn't have any feelings for him. You don't have any? If you don't have any feelings for him, then step back to avoid accidental injury. Gabriel suddenly roared, and the surrounding martial artists retreated one after another, leaving a large open space for them. Ning's face turned cold. "Gabriel, you want to attack us?" "Huh. Originally, I didn't want to attack women, but since you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, I can't do anything about it. Don't rely on your status as women to do whatever you want. In my eyes, women are also warriors, and warriors must fight. Today, your husbands aren't here, so I'll teach you the most basic principle of being a warrior." Gabriel paused for a moment, then laughed mischievously. "This is very important. You must know how to respect the strong. If you can't even learn this principle, then no matter who you are, you will be punished." And Ning saw that Gabriel was determined to attack, so she turned to Su Minghua and said, "You guys step back a little. I'll deal with this, Gabriel." "Sister, let me do it. After all, this is because of Mei-er. Minghua, you're treating me like an outsider. Mei-er is also my daughter. It's all the same. Help me keep an eye on him. If I lose, don't let me lose too badly." Su Minghua gritted her teeth and nodded, holding the line for Ning. Gabriel had the demeanor of a master. He looked at Ning with his hands behind his back, as if he didn't take her seriously at all. Ning was indignant. "Although you're strong, I might not lose to you." Ning also didn't use a weapon. She took a slight step forward, then suddenly attacked. Powerful water elements rose. Ning had a talent for water elements since she was young. Suddenly, the tide rolled and turbid waves rose into the air. However, she controlled the waves within a certain range and didn't hurt anyone, showing her extremely powerful control. Ning was like a mermaid in the waves. She quickly approached and attacked with her palm like lightning. Both of them were at the peak of the three-flower realm. Every move they made contained immense power, enough to kill without leaving a trace. Faced with Ning's attack, Gabriel snorted. He separated his hands, and the tide was torn apart like a piece of cloth. His body shot forward like lightning, and he threw out a palm. Gabriel's astral power burst forth at this moment. He had also attacked with a vicious move. And Ning, one person can defeat 10 people with brute force. Don't show off your petty tricks. And Ning helplessly waved her palm to block once. However, her astral power was indeed inferior to Gabriel's, and she was immediately repelled. Gabriel's hair and beard flew in the wind. His body was shining with starlight. It was obvious that he was in a fight for real. And Ning gritted her teeth and used her defensive technique. Immovable Mountain, which she had learned from Lin Jun. And Ning had a strong personality and was suitable for this technique. When she used Immovable Mountain, she immediately reversed the situation. Although Gabriel knew that he could still win if they kept fighting, he wasn't satisfied. He He wanted to win to his heart's content and let the fence-sitters in the Holy Land see clearly who was number one. Therefore, Gabriel simply used his real trump card, Heaven and Earth Mirror Spell. A mirror space appeared behind Ning. In the mirror, there was also a shadow of Gabriel, who launched a thunder palm at Ning. Ning didn't expect Gabriel to have this kind of skill. She was careless and was at a disadvantage. At this moment, Su Mingyue, who was holding the line, made her move. A beam of holy light shot through the air and blocked the attack. The long-haired beauty, Su, joined the battle and joined forces with Ning to fight against Gabriel. Gabriel laughed. Do you really think you can win by outnumbering me? You should know that in a situation where there is a huge disparity in strength, it's useless no matter how many people you have. Then, I will destroy you ruthlessly today. He waved his hands, and mirror spaces appeared one after another. Countless Gabriels attacked together from all directions. And Ning and Su Mingyue were also in a difficult situation. Gabriel was clearly stronger than before. This heaven and earth mirror spell couldn't be broken unless one's astral power was stronger than his. Seeing that her two mothers were losing, Mayor Lin immediately joined the battle. Mayor Lin joined the battle. Ling, and Angel also joined the battle. But even when they joined forces, Gabriel still looked down from above. He didn't fight them head-on at all. Instead, he used his heaven and earth mirror spell to trap them and force them into a bitter battle. As the battle progressed, Gabriel's forehead was covered in sweat. These 6 women weren't easy to deal with. Even if he was confident that he could defeat spiritual force transformation stage cultivators, and Ning and Su Mingyue were not inferior to ordinary spiritual force transformation stage cultivators. When the 6 of them joined forces, they were even more powerful. It was difficult for him to control them. But no matter what, Gabriel had to win this battle. Defeating 6 people at once was enough to prove his strength. He laughed in the air, and mirrors appeared one after another. I advise you to stop resisting. A wise man knows what to do and what not to do. It's foolish to resist. Just when everyone thought that Ning and the others were about to lose, they fought back. As Lin Jun's family, they all had their own methods. Gabriel, don't you dare. Su Mingyue gritted her teeth and unsheathed her sword. Since Gabriel was so ruthless, they couldn't just stand by and watch. A ray of holy light energy and a ray of lightning intertwined, forming a thick beam of light. Lightning strike. Su Mingyue and Lin Jun had the same holy light energy. This lightning was something that Lin Jun had requested for her to cultivate. This lightning attack was one of the techniques that made Lin Jun famous. Seeing Su Mingyue's counterattack, the other women, who were already mentally connected, covered Su Mingyue. Angel and her sisters Angels imperceptibly bound Gabriel with shackles. Ling Er's elven god Arrow also began to attack at this moment, making Gabriel exhausted. Mayor Lin's spatial slash also attacked without holding back. And Ning took out her sword and continued to use Immovable Mountain to block in front of the others, allowing them to focus on their attacks. The women's counterattack finally paid off. Even though Gabriel had cultivated the universal mirror, his opponent's techniques weren't inferior. When Su Mingyue's lightning attack arrived in front of him, Gabriel was flustered by their attacks and was hit on the spot. His body was sent flying into the air with a loud boom. Half of his body was char-black. After spinning a few rounds, Gabriel fell to the ground in a sorry state. The whole crowd was silent. They didn't expect Ning and the others to be so powerful that they could beat Gabriel to the ground. Athena bitterly ran to Gabriel's side, but was stopped by Gabriel's outstretched hand. Gabriel slowly raised his head, a trace of blood seeping out of the corner of his mouth. Good. It seems that I've underestimated you. You've used the tactic of bullying with numbers well. Gabriel got up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. I wanted to teach you a lesson, but it seems that won't work. Since you're so stubborn, don't blame me for being merciless. Boom! The starlight on Gabriel's body suddenly soared into the sky. A black gas rose, and his 6 wings instantly turned black. Seraph transformation. As an outstanding member of the Seraph race, Gabriel was a mutated Seraph, which was why he was so powerful. His pair of black eyes instantly turned red, and his powerful aura forced everyone to step back. Gabriel rose into the sky with the surge of his astral power. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, 4 turned into 8. Countless mirror images appeared at the same time. Even if Lin Jun comes back, he can only collect your corpses. Have a taste of my destructive attack. In the mirror images that filled the sky, countless Gabriels assumed an attacking posture at the same time and attacked together. And Ning and the others' expressions changed drastically. Gabriel wanted to silence them. This attack had exceeded the limits of the 3 flowers, and it was impossible to resist. But they had no choice but to face it head-on. Many people couldn't bear to see what was about to happen and covered their eyes. Then, Chapter 1009. Gabriel, who was in the middle of attacking, suddenly trembled, and his forward momentum came to an abrupt halt. It wasn't that he didn't want to advance, but in the sky, a surge of terrifying aura had firmly locked onto him. Gabriel had never felt such a terrifying pressure before. It was something that no other martial artist had ever given him. He raised his head in fear and saw a thundercloud descending from the sky. Divine lightning was hidden in the 9 heavens, but the more it was like this, the more terrifying it felt. Who is it? Unknowingly, Gabriel's voice suddenly became a little hoarse. The thundercloud descended and landed beside him. 2 men walked down from it. He didn't recognize one of them, but he didn't recognize the other. He was the most outstanding martial artist in the Fallen Star Lake Holy Land, and also Gabriel's imaginary enemy, Lin Jun. Lin Jun's appearance immediately caused a commotion in the Holy Land. 70 or 80 years had passed, but Lin Jun didn't seem to have changed much. His messy long hair, starry eyes, bronze skin, tall and straight figure, and that bottomless star power made it impossible for people to determine his realm. Walking down from the thundercloud, Lin Jun didn't pay attention to the extremely nervous Gabriel. His gaze fell on the woman opposite him. Hubby Dap, Big Brother Lin. The first one to rush over was Ning. Not only did she see her hubby, but she also saw her son, Linen. And Ning was ecstatic that Lin Jun had brought back one of her children. And Ning hugged her husband, and then rushed over to hug Linen. And Ning cried tears of joy. Linen also hugged his mother and cried bitterly. He hadn't seen his mother for many years, and he missed her very much. Hubby, thank you. You finally brought Little One back. You don't know, but Little One is the one I'm most worried about. Little Ping is stronger and more independent. Little One has been playful since he was young. I was really afraid that something would happen to him. By the way, where's Ping? What happened to him? Isn't he within our... Lin Jun gently put his arm around Ning's shoulder. Don't worry. I already know where Pinger went. It's just that the endless sea of stars is too big and too far away. I don't have time to go there yet. Once I'm done here, I'll go look for Pinger. Lin Jun looked into Ning's eyes. Trust your husband's intuition. Ping will definitely be fine. And Ning nodded heavily. Yes, I believe you. Lin Jun smiled and kissed Ning on the lips. And Ning immediately blushed and said, Our son is here. At this time, Mayor Lin also threw herself into her father's arms and cried for a while. Lin Jun hugged Su Mingyue and Mei consoling them for their yearning. The angel sisters and Ling also cried tears of joy and surrounded Lin Jun. Lin Jun didn't want to disappoint these girls who had been with his family for a long time. This time, he would find an opportunity to officially make them his family. While Lin Jun and his family were happy to reunite, Gabriel was a bit embarrassed. He was ready to fight, but Lin Jun didn't seem to see him at all. This made him feel like he was punching cotton with all his strength. Furthermore, he didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. This was the first time he had seen Lin Jun, so he had to carefully observe him. He couldn't see Lin Jun's realm. Aside from his 5th senior brother, this was the first person he couldn't see through. He could only feel that Lin Jun's astral energy was vigorous and erratic, making him unable to see through it. If he couldn't see through it, then he had to be careful. However, at this point, he didn't think there was any possibility of reconciliation between him and Lin Jun. He was ready to fight at any time. Lin Jun and his family talked for a while. Mayor Lin said to Lin Jun Dad, this person almost killed us just now. Lin Jun glanced at Gabriel. Don't worry, he can't kill you. Even if I wasn't here, fifth senior brother wouldn't have let you get hurt. It's just that I'm back that fifth senior brother didn't make a move. Hearing Lin Jun finally talk about his problem, Gabriel smiled proudly. Lin Jun, what are you talking about? Do you think you're still the #1 person in the Fallen Star Lake Holy Land? Lin Jun sneered. Originally, I should have just killed you and not talked so much nonsense with you. However, since there are so many people in the Holy Land today, I'll let you die with a clear understanding. It's not up to you whether I'm a #1 person in the Holy Land or not, because you're far from qualified. Lin Jun stepped forward. You dare to hurt my family. I don't know who gave you such courage, but you'll pay the price for your actions today. Lin Jun, stop talking nonsense. Come at me. Gabriel's fighting spirit surged, and his astral power erupted to the limit. Facing Lin Jun, he longed to fight. Unexpectedly, Lin Jun snorted. You want to fight me? No. What? Are you scared? Lin Jun turned around and said to Lin and this person wanted to hurt your mother and the others. What should you do? Lin strode forward. Father, you don't need to do anything to deal with this kind of trash. Your son will take care of him. Okay, be careful. Although this person isn't strong, he's definitely not weak. Especially with his ability to attack from all sides, you have to be careful. Don't worry, Father. I'm confident. Lin Jun nodded, turned around, and returned to his family. Looking at Lin Jun's son in front of him, Gabriel was so angry that his nose was almost crooked. The person he wanted to challenge was Lin Jun, not Lin Jun's son. Although this kid was also at the peak of the three-flower realm, Gabriel didn't take him seriously at all. Brat, get lost. Gabriel took a large step forward and swung his arm to strike. Lin faced Gabriel, sneered, and suddenly punched with all his strength. Boom! A muffled sound of air exploded between the two. Gabriel had underestimated his opponent and was sent flying by Lin N's punch. Before the pale-faced Gabriel could recover from his shock, Lin had already caught up to him. The 4-meter-long spear in his hand was a low-grade supreme treasure, which Lin Jun had given him. The combat skill he used was the Lanta spear technique that Lin Jun had taught him. Lanta spring, the long spear danced as if it were flying. With the support of the tidal martial intent, the earth, water, fire, and wind surged and roared, immediately putting Gabriel in an extremely dangerous situation. A mass of energy enveloped Gabriel. Gabriel also used the long sword in his hand, but he was completely unable to resist Lin N's ferocious offensive. He was forced to retreat again and again. The spectators were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Lin Jun had returned. It was said that Lin Jun had made a name for himself in the endless sea of stars and had even taken the top 3 of the Hall of Fame. Without experiencing it personally, people didn't know what the Hall of Fame was. It was probably very powerful. It wasn't strange that Lin Jun could defeat Gabriel, but how was his son so powerful? Gabriel's strength was obvious to everyone. In the Holy Land, he was an invincible existence. Even when the 6 women of the Lin family joined forces, they still weren't his match. With such a huge contrast, people couldn't help but be curious about Lin Jun's strength. Now, it seemed that Lin Jun's strength had reached an enormous height beyond their imagination. Lin didn't think about this at all. Gabriel in front of him could be considered a formidable opponent. Before receiving his father's special training, Lin had to admit that he wasn't his match. But after being taught by Lin Jun on the spaceship for over a decade, Lin was no longer the ignorant person he used to be. His attainments in the long spear had been passed down to him by his father. His combat experience and skills, as well as his grasp of timing, were far from what Gabriel could compare with. The long spear flew up and down, and soon Gabriel didn't have the strength to resist. Gabriel's star power, which he was so proud of, was actually slightly weaker than Lin An's. This small difference made it impossible for him to use the Universe Clear Mirror technique. The Universe Clear Mirror technique was nothing more than a force field, a domain. It was useless in front of someone whose star power exceeded his own. Winter's ice. Poof! Lin N's crazy attacks finally paid off. His spear pierced through Gabriel's shoulder and knocked him to the ground. Being knocked down in front of so many people in the Holy Land made Gabriel so ashamed that he wanted to die. He had to get back at him. He had to take revenge. But when he saw Lin rushing over, Gabriel couldn't defeat Lin for the time being. At this time, seeing Gabriel fall, Athena rushed over frantically to save him. Gabriel's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly retreated. Athena came to his side and pointed at Lin and blocked him from me for the time being. Athena nodded and waved her long sword, going straight for Lin, and Gabriel quickly retreated. After swallowing some kind of pill, he began to break through on the spot. He was already at the peak of the three-flower realm. If he broke through again, he would enter the divine transformation realm. Seeing this, Ning suddenly became anxious. She pulled Lin Jun's hand. "Honey, this person is about to break through and, is entangled by that woman. What should we do? Is too soft-hearted. I'm afraid he can't do anything to that woman." Lin Jun patted Ning's hand. "Trust in her." Lin Jun also wanted to see how Lin would react at this moment. He wanted to see how he would choose to deal with a woman's entanglement. Athena attacked Lin like a madwoman. She even had tears in her eyes. She knew that she was no match for Lin, but she had to do this in order to buy time for Gabriel. And Ning and the others were all women. They didn't care about Athena, but she didn't believe that a man like Lin would be able to harm a beauty like her. Athena pounced over, holding her sword with both hands. She cried, "You're all bullies. If that's the case, then kill me." Her twin peaks protruded, and her fragrance assailed his nostrils. Her speed wasn't too fast, nor was it too powerful. Instead, it had a kind of erotic taste. However, Lin Jun could clearly see that Athena's seemingly delicate attack had the power of the long sword on her back raised to the limit. Lin didn't seem to want to move. Athena's eyes flashed with a look of success. But just as he rushed in front of Lin, what greeted him was Lin An's full-strength star. "Ugly freak. The women of the Lin family and my father's confidants are all hundreds of times prettier than you. How dare you show off in front of me? Go to hell." Planet Fall. Chapter 10:10. The 5 forms of starfall was one of the secret techniques that Lin Jun had taught to Lin. However, Lin would never be able to use the real starfall. That was Lin Jun's exclusive technique. However, the starfall that Lin had learned was enough to cause great damage to Athena, who was at the pinnacle of the three-flower realm. Her coquettish actions did not affect Lin in the slightest. Athena was hit by the starfall and was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Her body crashed into a mountain wall in the distance, and then she lay there motionless. No one knew if she was dead or alive. Lin stepped forward and stabbed his spear at Gabriel, who was in the midst of breaking through. However, Gabriel still managed to complete the attack. When Lin An's spear pierced half a foot into his opponent's shoulder, a powerful aura rose from Gabriel's body and forcefully repelled Lin An's spear. Wahaha! A surge of astral power rose into the sky. Gabriel's body spun in the air, his clothes and hair fluttering in the wind. He let out a burst of wild laughter. "I broke through. I finally broke through. So this is the divine transformation. My divine will has undergone a real change." The surrounding people retreated one after another, their hearts trembling. It seemed that today's battle would not end so easily. Could Lin Jun's family withstand Gabriel's breakthrough? Lin Jun waved at Lin's son. "Come back. You've completed your mission. Well done." Lin walked back to his parents' side. He looked at Gabriel, his eyes still filled with a strong desire to fight. At that moment, Mayor Lin tugged at Lin Jun's sleeve. "Dad, I hate this guy. Don't let him continue to be so arrogant." Lin Jun chuckled and patted his daughter's little head. "All right, since Mayor has spoken, I'll make him disappear." With that, Lin Jun stepped onto the stage. Gabriel had also landed. When he saw Lin Jun finally appear, his eyes burned with anger. "Lin Jun, you allowed your son to kill my woman. Today we'll settle this grudge." Lin Jun waved his hand. "Your woman asked for it, but you don't deserve to talk about understanding with me. Gabriel, you're just an insignificant ant in my eyes. I won't waste my breath on you. Since you dared to hurt my family, You should be prepared to die. Now, I can announce that you've graduated from the holy land of Fallen Star Lake. What did you say? Gabriel's eyes widened. I said you can graduate now. We don't need you here anymore. I'll send you out now. Shameless boasting. Before Gabriel was raised to speak to the thunder. If you can rush out of my thundercloud, then I'll give you a way out. Gabriel was completely enraged by Lin Jun. He thought that, after breaking through, he would be able to easily trample Lin Jun beneath his feet. But his opponent didn't even attack him and even said that he couldn't rush out of the thundercloud. This was simply an insult to him. He grasped his weapon and roared as he rushed towards Lin Jun, wanting to go around the thundercloud. But he didn't think that the thundercloud's speed would reach an inconceivable degree. The thundercloud rushed forwards at a speed that surpassed the speed of light, instantly enveloping Gabriel. Then, an overwhelming amount of thunder came crashing down. In Lin Jun's eyes, Gabriel was nothing at all, let alone now. Even when he had just entered the endless sea of stars, Lin Jun still wouldn't place a martial artist who had just broken through to the divine transformation realm in his eyes. If Lin Jun wanted to kill him, he could turn his opponent to ashes with a single breath. The only reason he was doing this now was to deceive everyone. After all, this was the holy land of Starfall Lake. The thunder cloud soared into the skies. From time to time, Gabriel's angry roars would echo out. But these roars would soon fade away. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They had no idea where Gabriel had gone. Could he have left the holy land of Starfall Lake and never come back? Even Ning and Su Mingwa looked at Lin Jun, puzzled. They didn't know just what sort of medicine was in his gourd. Lin also smiled, not speaking. But only he knew that the truth was that the thunder cloud had already returned. Just as the thunder cloud left everyone's line of sight, Lin Jun controlled the power of thunder to kill Gabriel. Then, the thunder cloud returned at the fastest speed possible. The thunder cloud could fly faster than the speed of light. The concept of going faster than the speed of light meant that ordinary people couldn't see it with their eyes. The thunder cloud returned, and no one saw it. It directly entered Lin Jun's divine realm. Gabriel's soul appeared in Lin Jun's black hole for a moment. Before it could make any sound, Lin Jun stripped it of its memory and turned it into ashes. Lin Jun wasn't a heartless butcher, but Gabriel had already formed a hatred for him. Even if Lin Jun didn't think for himself, he had to think for his family. He absolutely couldn't leave a hidden danger here. If Lin Jun left and Gabriel secretly hurt someone, Lin Jun wouldn't be able to find a reason to cry. After some experience, Lin Jun would never be soft-hearted when dealing with enemies or any potential danger. As for stripping Gabriel's memory, Lin Jun felt that although this person wasn't very strong, his Cosmos Mirror technique was definitely a very good technique. And Ning and Yu Air's two wives had already received some of Lin Jun's true teachings. They were definitely outstanding in the third flower stage. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been ranked second and third in the Holy Lands Heaven class. However, the two of them, together with Mei Air and a few others, couldn't even defeat Gabriel, who was at the same level as them. This showed how powerful this technique was. To put it bluntly, the Cosmos Mirror technique was also a type of domain power. This was very helpful for Lin Jun's domain cultivation. Coincidentally, there wasn't anyone who needed to be stripped of their memory during this period. Lin Jun directly stripped Gabriel's memory and obtained this technique. You don't have to look at me like that. Maybe Gabriel will suddenly come to his senses and leave the Holy Land in shame. Su Mingwa winked at Lin Jun. Her meaning was very clear. It would be strange if I believed you. Looking at his wife's charming appearance, Lin Jun's heart was also burning. This time, he should have a good reunion with his family after returning. The Holy Land's 33 Heavens Pagoda was still being challenged. Lin Jun also took a look at his family's performance. Although in the eyes of others, Lin Jun's family strength was already very good, in Lin Jun's eyes, it was still not enough. Therefore, after his family finished challenging the Pagoda of 33 Heavens, Lin Jun decided to stay in the Holy Land for a year to guide them and improve their strength. Lin Jun's request was very simple. He wanted them to stimulate their potential and try their best to reach the limit of the third flower stage. This time, it was different from Lin An's time. For Lin Jun's policy was to let him grow freely and let him improve on his own. As for his delicate wife and daughter, Lin Jun had to put in more effort. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to improve much in a year. The angel sisters, Ling and the others had also completely given themselves to Lin Jun during this process. They had followed Lin Jun's family for so many years and had long been part of the Lin family. It was just that Lin Jun had always been wandering outside and did not have time to interact with them. In this year, Lin Jun could be said to have enjoyed a lot of luck with women and had completely taken in these enchanting women. Lin Jun's parents, Lin Jun and Li Qin, had also been brought to the Holy Land of Fallen Star to live. Lin Jun promised Jin Nuo that he would absolutely not allow his parents to enter the stone tablet area to meditate. Even if he allowed them to go, it would be impossible for them to succeed. This was because their foundations were far too weak. Jin Nuo declined to comment on this. If it were anyone else, she would have never agreed. But Lin Jun was different. He was the future candidate to guard the Holy Land. Whether or not Jin Nuo could go out and enjoy herself would depend on Lin Jun's performance. Thus, she allowed Lin Jun to decide everything for himself. After bringing his parents here, the family could finally enjoy their time together. And Ning and Yu, with Lin Jun's help, were able to rapidly progress. They weren't too far away from breaking through to the divine transformation realm. As for Lin, he was once again released by Lin Jun, allowing him to rely on his own strength to enter the Holy Land of Fallen Star. Lin didn't disappoint. He overcame all difficulties and entered the Holy Land's heavenly class as the top new student, becoming classmates with his mother. However, his fate here was a bit sad. He was destined to be bullied by his little sister for several years. In the 7th month, Lin was the first to complete his breakthrough, successfully entering the divine transformation realm. He was the only divine transformation student in the Holy Land's heavenly class, and he had joined as a new student. Then, in the 8th month, Ning and Su Mingyue also completed their breakthroughs, becoming divine transformation masters. After the two of them broke through, their strength was even faintly above Lin An's. This was because Lin Jun had poured a great deal of effort into these two wives of his. It was only when Lin Jun thought that they were barely qualified that he allowed them to break through. It had to be known that if Lin Jun thought they were qualified, then they weren't just strong. After his two wives, his daughter Mayor Lin also completed her breakthrough in the 9th month. Following in Mayor Lin's footsteps, the sisters Ling, and Angel also completed their breakthroughs in the 10th month, becoming divine transformation masters. As for Lin Jun, he didn't stop working. During this time, he focused most of his energy on his parents. In the 11th month, with the help of Lin Jun's medicines, Lin Jun and Li Qin finally broke through the barrier and broke into the immortal realm, becoming immortal realm masters. After entering immortal realm, Lin Liye and his wife were satisfied. This was because they also had eternal life. As for how they broke through afterwards, it wasn't important. After completing this matter, Lin Jun let out a long breath of relief. After his parents' death, he let nature take its course. As for his wives and children, that was different. Lin Jun required them to work hard in their cultivation. Lin Jun had even prepared divine crystals for them, guaranteeing that they could cultivate all the way to divinity. After arranging everything, Lin Jun bid farewell to his family once more. Mayor Lin saw that Lin Jun was about to leave. She said with tears in her eyes, "Father, didn't you say you were going to stay for a year? There's still a month left." Su Mingwei grabbed Mayor Lin's hand. "Let your father go. If he doesn't leave soon, some people won't be able to wait any longer." Lin Jun smiled apologetically. He knew that Ning Qingshuan's matter would be revealed sooner or later. But it was about time he went to see Xian. Chapter 10-11. Qin City Alchemist Association Headquarters. This was the holy land where all the alchemists in the world gathered. It was the place that all the alchemists in the vast primordial realm yearned for the most. Lin Jun arrived with a cloak and saw the endless stream of people and carriages in front of the door. There would never be an end to people seeking medical treatment in this world. Moreover, martial artists used thousands of times more medicine than ordinary people. Alchemists were always in high demand. Someone once said that in a mortal stage, alchemist wouldn't be exchanged for god status. Although this statement wasn't very convincing, it was enough to show the importance of alchemists. Especially Qin City, this place was now very famous. Because there was a god-level alchemist here, Lin Jun. When Lin Jun walked into the Alchemist Association headquarters, the first thing that caught his eyes was a huge golden statue of himself, made of fine gold. The huge golden statue was 10 meters tall. It was undoubtedly an astronomical price to build. A pair of starlight stone eyes were inlaid in the eyes, and black hair was woven from black sky silkworm. Lin Jun's appearance was vivid and lifelike in the hands of skilled craftsmen. At the foot of the huge statue was Lin Jun's resume. Lin Jun, god-level alchemist, came from the new territories through the Heavenly Gate. Black hole, beast true body, martial arts prodigy, alchemy prodigy. Since entering the primordial realm, behind it were Lin Jun's deeds. They were listed in great numbers, dazzling him. Some of the things that even Lin Jun himself didn't have a deep impression of. He didn't expect there to be so many records here. And there was another point. Lin Jun's growth was closely related to the Alchemist Association headquarters. The Alchemist Association had put in a lot of effort to nurture Lin Jun. This point made the Alchemist Association headquarters a little too proud. Lin Jun's growth was more dependent on himself. However, Lin Jun didn't care about this. When he went to the Fire Kirin to pick up his parents, he saw his own statue there. It wasn't smaller than this one. It also said that Lin Jun's growth was nurtured by the Fire Kirin. This was human nature, and it was understandable. Lin Jun didn't show his face. He knew that once he did, he would definitely attract a lot of attention, which would be inconvenient. He had come here to visit Ning Qingxian. Lin Jun went all the way to the front desk. He did not think about teleporting over. Instead, he went there and showed his name card. "Hello, I'm going to Lin Jun's villa." The receptionist at the front desk slowly took Lin Jun's name card and said casually, "I guess you came from some small country. Saint Teacher Lin Jun is no longer called Saint Teacher. Now he is called Saint Teacher Lin Jun." Lin Jun was stunned. The lady at the front desk had changed after so many years, and he did not know her. He did not expect that he had become a god-tier master. "All right then, let me correct you. I'm going to Priest Lin Jun's villa here. I advise you to save your breath. Do you think that Priest Lin Jun's villa is empty? Is it a place that can be visited and admired? If that's the case, I'm afraid that the Alchemist Guild headquarters won't be able to accommodate all the people coming here, even if it's as big as a planet. His villa is occupied and not open to the public. If you have the time, you might as well go to the Adventurers Guild outside to do missions and earn more money. Then, you can become an alchemist apprentice and start following in the footsteps of Priest Lin Jun. Of course, you have to break through to immortality first." Lin Jun's lips curled into a smile. "Is this your advice to me?" "Of course. Do you think I'm that free? This is the most popular practice in the primordial realm. If it weren't for the fact that I like you, I would have asked the guards to chase you out." Lin Jun chuckled. "You're a responsible receptionist, but shouldn't you look at the guest's name card before making a decision?" "Oomph. It's the same." Now, Priest Lin Jun is the most famous in the primordial realm. The guild headquarters has ordered that no one is allowed to disturb his villa, even if you are the emperor. As the receptionist spoke, she opened the name card in a huff. Then, her little mouth opened. It was as if a duck egg had been stuffed into it, and she couldn't close it at all. "Miss, can I go now?" "Ah, yes. Thank you." Lin Jun smiled, got up, and walked to the back of the Alchemist Guild headquarters. When Lin Jun's figure disappeared, the receptionist suddenly screamed. The sharp scream scared the people around her. Another receptionist complained, "Xiao man, are you crazy? Did you see a ghost in broad daylight? Why are you screaming like a ghost?" The receptionist called Xiao man laughed foolishly. "What's a ghost? This is much more powerful than a ghost." "Is that so? What is it? Tell me." Xiao man looked at her companion warily. "What are you doing? Give up. I won't tell you." This is my secret. Crazy, Xiao Man completely ignored her companion's gaze. She was completely immersed in great happiness. She actually saw Lin Jun. That was the living Lin Jun. Pushing open the door of the floating villa, the door shook and dust fell. It was obvious that no one had opened the door for a long time. Arriving at the room where he used to be with Xian Er, Lin Jun and Ning Qingxian looked at each other. For more than 70 years, Ning Qingxian still maintained the same appearance as when Lin Jun was with her. She still sat in the same position and cultivated. She didn't move at all. Xian Er, husband, you're back. Looking at his elegant lover, Lin Jun took 2 steps forward and hugged Ning Qingxian. Xian Er, I'm back. Ning Qingxian smiled and leaned her head on Lin Jun's chest. She hugged him with both hands. She was never sad or happy. This was already a rare expression for her. Lin Jun raised his hand, and the light disappeared. The starry night came. He hugged Ning Qingxian and rolled on the bed. Being rolled by the waves, it was gentle and charming. After a long time, Lin Jun looked at Ning Qingxian. Only then did he believe that the divine transformation realm really existed on the ground of the primordial realm. Back then, Ning Qingxian was at the Three-Flower realm. After Lin Jun left for more than 70 years, Ning Qingxian had been in seclusion. Now, she had reached the peak of the divine will transformation realm. Although the divine will transformation realm wasn't much in Lin Jun's eyes, Ning Qingxian broke through on her own in the primordial realm. This was very rare. It was enough to prove how outstanding her talent was. Xian Er, how have you been all these years? Nothing much. I've been cultivating. When I heard your footsteps, I knew you were back. Then I woke up. Lin Jun ran his fingers through her flowing hair. He knew that things weren't as simple as she made them out to be. Xian Er was just comforting him and didn't want him to worry. Ning Qingxian seemed to see through Lin Jun's thoughts. Husband, you really don't have to worry about me. And Ning is already used to the quiet days. Also, I miss you so much that I won't feel too lonely. The most important thing for you is to do what you have to do. Lin Jun nodded. The most important thing for him now was to cultivate. He still had to accompany Ning Qingxian here for a month. After a month, Lin Jun planned to cultivate the domain of divinity. Raylo told Lin Jun that if he wanted to cultivate the domain of divinity, it was best to suppress his realm. However, Lin Jun hadn't figured out how to cultivate it yet. Should he go into seclusion or enter the world? Ning Qingxuan's aptitude amazed Lin Jun. Among the women he knew, there were 4 with the best aptitudes. In addition to Snow White and Bai Su, there were also Little Phoenix and Ning Qingxian. The aptitudes of the 4 of them were absolutely unparalleled. Ning Qingxian even suppressed her own strength. She now had the power to break through to the God realm. However, she felt that her cultivation wasn't perfect enough. Lin Jun began to take on the role of a mentor. Ning Qingxian gladly accepted Lin Jun's teachings. The 2 of them began a busy month. Every time Lin Jun taught a martial skill, Ning Qingxian would practice it well. She could even give Lin Jun a lot of inspiration. If it weren't for Lin Jun thinking about the domain of divinity, he even wanted to stay here with Ning Qingxian for a few years. As time passed, Lin Jun couldn't make up his mind. He wasn't sure what was the most suitable choice. Ning Qingxian could also see Lin Jun's mood, but she couldn't do anything about it. One day a month later, a storm raged in the Qin capital. This rainstorm was extremely rare. The dark clouds that were as thick as the heavenly tribulation were right above their heads. Lin Jun's powerful eyesight couldn't even see through the dark clouds. This was almost unimaginable. Lin Jun could see tens of millions of kilometers, but he couldn't see the end of the dark clouds. The wind wasn't good, and the rain wasn't good either. The rumbling thunder illuminated the earth, making people afraid to leave their rooms, until a rainbow streaked across the sky, and the earth shook. Lin Jun, who was cultivating, had a grave expression. This kind of power was simply unprecedented. This bolt of lightning could completely destroy a star system. Looking out from inside the room, one could only see a long, bottomless trench in the thick dark clouds that ran through the sky. Did something fly past here? Just as Lin Jun was puzzled, the dimensional universe sounded. Lin Jun was shocked when he saw it, because the person calling him in the dimensional universe was actually Jean Nuo. Fifth senior brother, are you looking for me for something? Lin Jun hurriedly answered. Jean Nuo said in a low voice, Lin Jun, did you see that light just now? I saw it. It seems like something powerful flew past, but I don't know what it is. That's a ruler's equipment. Lin Jun was stunned. What's a ruler's equipment? You should know what a ruler is, right? Lin Jun nodded. He had heard a little about it. Above High God was the supreme ruler. It was just that it was too far away from him, so he didn't care. A ruler's equipment is a ruler's weapon. Lin Jun, a ruler's equipment is very important. You'd better get it. It's also very important to your future. It's every martial artist's dream. Then what does fifth senior brother mean? Chapter 10:12. Hearing Jean Nuo's words, Lin Jun was shocked. Fifth senior brother, are you saying that there will be gods fighting for this ruler's armament? How can I compete with them? On the other side of the dimensional universe, Jean Nuo waved her hand. Lin Jun, don't worry too much. I saw the trajectory of the ruler's armament. It's very likely that it went to the new territories. You came from the new territories. Don't you know the difference between the new territories and the primordial realm? Lin Jun thought for a moment. The new territories, the spirit chi there is thin, and the space is relatively unstable. That's right. Because of this, the new territories can't accommodate beings with strong star power. This is also why the new territories can't produce immortal realm masters. As part of the universe, the new territories are relatively unstable. Therefore, even if the masters of the primordial realm return to the new territories, they have to suppress their strength to below the immortal realm. Even gods are no exception. Lin Jun's eyes lit up. Fifth senior brother, you mean that star power will be weakened in the new territories? You can understand it that way. However, you have to know that star power doesn't represent everything. Even if two people have the same star power, there's still a big difference between the truly strong and the weak. The techniques that a god can use, even in the immortal realm, are not something that an ordinary three-flower or divine sense can resist. Gods are still strong, just not as strong as before. This is your chance. Hearing this, Lin Jun had already made up his mind to find the ruler's armament. The ruler's armament has many deeper meanings. It's not convenient to talk about it now. Lin Jun, you go. Remember, this is very important. After Jean Nuo finished speaking, she closed the dimensional universe. Lin Jun, who had been a little confused during this time, also saw a new direction to move forward. Seeing that Lin Jun had ended the call, Ning Qingxian said softly, You came back, and now you're leaving? Leaving now is so that you can always stay. Ning Qingxian smiled and gently touched Lin Jun's forehead with her finger. Go, don't forget the way back. Since we're leaving, shouldn't we do something to celebrate? Ning Qingxian blushed. During this period of time, she already knew what Lin Jun meant by celebration. Although she was shy, she couldn't resist her husband's persistence. Every time he succeeded. After leaving the capital, Lin Jun chose to use the National Teleportation Array. Lin Jun now had a special privilege. All the countries on the surface of the primordial realm would open their teleportation portals to Lin Jun for free to show their respect to this great priest. Of course, Lin Jun didn't lack the money to pay for the teleportation array, but he valued saving time. He didn't need to line up at the teleportation array and could directly pass through. After walking through several tens of teleportation arrays, Lin Jun had already traveled a distance of several billion light years. After walking through a border teleportation array called East Jin, the sky in front of him was vast. He was already close to the heavenly gate. Thunderclouds rose under his feet, and Lin Jun went straight in the direction of the heavenly gate. In the sky, he could still see the traces of the flowing light flying past. After flying on the thunderclouds for a while, Lin Jun saw dots of flowing light in front of him. There were also people hurrying to the heavenly gate. Lin Jun's body was hidden in the thunderclouds, but he could still clearly feel the powerful aura of each and every one of them. These people hurrying to the heavenly stone realm were at least and some are even demigods. As expected, the surface of the primordial realm is also full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. These people usually don't appear, but now that the ruler's armament has appeared, they can't sit still. Lin Jun didn't stop. He just let the thunderclouds speed up. After about an hour, he arrived in front of the heavenly gate. If he went to the new territories, Lin Jun could use the wormhole egg, but that would lose track of the ruler's armament. So, he could only go through the heavenly gate. When he arrived in front of the heavenly gate, Lin Jun stopped. A voice drifted over from the clouds. "Haha, Lin Jun, long time no see. Brother Moonchaser." Lin Jun immediately recognized the voice of the heavenly gate's guardian emissary, Moonchaser. He was immediately delighted as he leaped and landed on a marshmallow-like cloud. Moonchaser was lying there and looking at the sky. "Brother Moonchaser, how have you been? It doesn't matter if I'm good or not. I'm just a gatekeeper. I wonder when such days will come to an end." Lin Jun looked at Moonchaser, who was dressed in a sloppy white robe, and was secretly shocked by his strength. Back then, Lin Jun's realm was low, so he couldn't tell how strong Moonchaser was. But now, Lin Jun was already at the peak of the heavenly realm. He was in the top 3 of the Hall of the Exalted, but he still couldn't sense Moonchaser's exact realm. This left him very surprised. Without a doubt, Moonchaser was already a deity, but he still couldn't figure out what realm he was at. He was certain that he was definitely not a lesser deity. "Are you also going to compete for the ruler's armament?" asked Moonchaser. "Brother Moonchaser, do you know anything about the ruler's armament?" Moonchaser nodded. "I know a little. The primordial realm has had 2 ruler's armaments appear. Each time it would cause a fight. However, the first 2 ruler's armaments were within the primordial realm. This is the first time that the ruler's armament has directly charged through the heavenly gate to the new territories." Lin Jun looked at the rainbow that swept across the sky. Indeed, it had already disappeared on the other side of the heavenly gate, deep into the new territories. Moonchaser continued, "The ruler's armament is very powerful. It's the ultimate weapon that warriors dream of. Brother, if you can obtain the ruler's armament, you will be like a tiger that has grown wings." "Then, can brother give me some guidance?" "Haha, I can't do anything about that. However, the ruler's armament isn't that easy to find. It will automatically conceal itself. Who knows, it might already be hidden somewhere in the new territories. You need to first find the whereabouts of the ruler's armament, then slowly investigate. I estimate that it will be considered fast if you can find it in a dozen or so years, so you don't have to be too anxious." Lin Jun nodded. Just as he was about to ask something else, a huge beam of light rapidly flew over from afar. The shocking aura caused the clouds to churn as energy surged. Its might was astonishing. Haha, as expected, it's the ruler's armament. It actually attracted the deities. "Lin Jun, do you want to meet these deities?" Lin Jun shook his head. "Forget it. It's not good to cause too much trouble now. Brother, I'll head to the new territories. See you later. Lin Jun, remember to suppress your realm. Otherwise, you will be swallowed by the spatial turbulence and forever wander between the new territories and the primordial realm's barrier." "Understood." Lin Jun bid farewell to Moonchaser and then rushed towards the heavenly gate. The heavenly gate was originally sealed, but after being attacked by the ruler's armament, a gap had opened up, allowing Lin Jun to pass through smoothly. When he passed through the gap, Lin Jun felt the surrounding spiritual energy drop significantly. He didn't feel it when he was in the new territories, but after returning to the new territories from the primordial realm, he felt as if he had suddenly arrived at a plateau after enjoying the warm air for a long time. The thin air was simply unbearable. "It seems that I'll have to suppress my strength and maintain it at the World King realm for now." With a thought, Lin Jun withdrew his star power and gathered it into the black hole like a tide. At this moment, his realm also began to rapidly drop. From the God realm to divine sense, from divine sense to the 3 flowers, then to longevity, and finally to the peak of the World King realm. After reaching the World King realm, he instantly passed through the gap in front of him. What entered his eyes was a wine-red nebula. This was the Sagittarius Galaxy, located at the edge of the Milky Way. Lin Jun even saw the surrounding pillars of life, which were faintly discernible in the wine-red nebula. Back then, when he broke through the heavenly gate, this place was bustling with activity. Now that the 10,000-year limit had passed, the wine-red nebula had become completely deserted. Everywhere was empty. Sagittarius, Milky Way, this place isn't very far from my home solar system. Should I go back and take a look? Lin Jun thought about it and temporarily suppressed this idea. His current priority was to find the ruler's armament. The rolling clouds in the primordial realm had completely disappeared when he reached the new territories. Lin Jun could only vaguely feel the trace of the ruler's armament through his mental power. It seemed to be heading south, but after tracking it for a while, that trace of aura also completely disappeared. What should I do? I've completely lost track of the ruler's armament. At this time, Chris appeared from the dimensional universe. She wore a white dress and appeared on Lin Jun's shoulder. Master, you are relying too much on your own ability as a cultivator. If you can't find it with your mental power, why don't you look for it? Since the ruler's armament is flying all the way, there must be life planets along the way that can observe its whereabouts. It will still be discovered by those radars, satellites, and so on. You need to slowly search, inquire, and explore. Sooner or later, you will find it. Lin Jun suddenly understood. Indeed, as Chris said, he was relying too much on his own ability and neglected some basic problems. Chris, do you have a star map about the new territories? Master, are you stupid? This is your home, the territory of the Sky River Empire. Don't you know what life planets are nearby? Even if you don't know, you can check the star map. It's better than asking me for everything. I'm very busy. Busy? What are you busy with? Lin Jun was a bit confused. Isn't an intelligent life supposed to serve him? What is there to be busy with? Humph. I'm not an ordinary intelligent life. I have independent thoughts. You don't need to care about other people's affairs. After Chris said proudly, she immediately disappeared again. Lin Jun was a little speechless. He had no choice but to download a star map of the Milky Way galaxy by himself. The ruler's armament is heading south. According to my judgment and analysis, it should pass through here. Here. Yes, it's here, the planet of Naples. If I don't turn halfway, I might find it on this planet. This planet of Naples is my first stop. I'm going to cultivate while looking for the ruler's armament. Lin Jun didn't stay in the wine-red nebula for long. In fact, he has already seen a lot of starlight appearing from the gate of heaven. Many powerhouses have already arrived in the new territories. Chapter 10:13. The size of the primordial realm was unimaginable. Because of this, there was a difference in the speed of those who rushed to the Elysium. Some people might arrive in a few days, while others might not arrive in a few years. As for those who could not arrive in a few decades, they did not even bother coming. Some people entered the new territories through the Elysium and might be able to sense some traces of the Dominator's armaments. But most people completely lost track of the Dominator's armaments. Southwest of the Milky Way, on a planet called Saya, the level of civilization on this planet was not very high, and it had not even connected to the dimensional universe. The barren and barren resources made the distant empires unwilling to come here. Not every planet was valuable. Even if some planets were included in the empire's territory, they would only become a burden. The people on this planet were extremely backward in terms of technology. Their current level was equivalent to the ancient era of Earth, which was still in the era of cold weapons. Martial arts were not particularly advanced, and the strongest person on the planet was only Lu Zhou. The people here did not even know how vast the outside world was. When they looked up at the starry sky, all they could feel was the distance and nothing else. They did not have the ability, nor did they want to explore the outside world. Birch Mountain was the highest peak on this planet. On a tall birch tree, a goshawk with a huge wingspan was looking for food. Its sharp eyes scanned the territory, looking for a suitable target to attack. It locked onto a group of blue sheep. One of them was an underage lamb. It was enough to drag it from the rock into the sky and then drop it to its death. After observing for a while, the lamb's parents pulled away from the lamb while eating grass. The goshawk's opportunity came. Just as it was about to flap its wings and fly, the goshawk's legs suddenly went soft, and it almost fell from the nest. In the sky, a terrifying aura came. No, it wasn't just one strand, but three. 3 streams of light pierced through the air, breaking through the atmosphere with flames, and arrived on planet Saya. The 3 streams of light landed on the top of the cliff where the goshawk was, which was the highest point of Birch Mountain. A man in a black robe stood in the middle, and on his left and right were 2 men in white. They stood there, unaffected by the mountain wind. They were like heavenly deities that no one dared to look up at. The goshawk completely lost its courage as the overlord of the cliffs. It shivered in its nest and dared not show its head because it was afraid that the terrifying beings above would notice it. A white-clothed man said to the black-clothed man, "Master, this place is called Scion Star. The place we are currently at is the highest point here, and it is also the place where the aura of the ruler armament completely disappeared." The black-clothed man checked the information of the dimensional universe for a while and said in a deep voice, "The civilization level of this planet is a little backward. We flew all the way here, but we didn't see any surveillance facilities. With such technology, it's impossible to record images of the ruler's armament passing by. This won't be easy to find." "Yes, Master. It wasn't easy for me to find information about Saya. The people here don't even know how vast the universe is. Although there is a signal from the Dimensional Universe Corporation, the people here don't have any intelligent life." Another white-robed man continued, "Not only are there no intelligent life forms, but the lifespan of the people here is also very short. Other than those warriors who are successful in their cultivation, their average lifespan is less than 100 years. Don't you think it's funny?" "Huh, that's not all. Here, martial arts is a noble sport. Only those with money and power can practice martial arts. Commoners have almost no qualifications to practice martial arts. Moreover, those who train to the star realm here are called gods. On the entire Scion Star, there are less than 10 people above the star realm. It's so backward that it makes one's hair stand on end." Hearing the words of his 2 subordinates, the black-clothed man frowned slightly. "Don't be too arrogant. Although with our realm and strength, we can destroy this planet with a flip of our hand, that was in the primordial realm. Now that we are in the new territories, and everyone's realm has been suppressed below the immortal realm, it's hard to guarantee that the new territories won't have hidden dragons and crouching tigers that pose a threat to us. Master, you are a little too worried. Don't talk about the immortal realm. Even the Realm King and the Domain King are enough to sweep through the entire new territories with my combat skills and fighting methods." The black-clothed man waved his hand. "Not absolutely. When I said that there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the new territories, I didn't mean the natives here, but the competitors from the primordial realm. These people are worthy of our concern." The 2 white-clothed men nodded. Although they were very confident, the competitors from the primordial realm couldn't be underestimated. "Master, what do we do now?" "Of course, we stay on Scion Star and search for the whereabouts of the Dominator armament. I have investigated. This planet has a diameter of about 100,000 kilometers, and there are more than 100 countries on it. The 3 of us will now split up and act." As he spoke, the black-clothed man's voice became serious. "I want the 2 of you to take control of at least 10 countries every day. I will take control of 20 countries every day. Within a week, eliminate all those who oppose us, completely occupy this planet, and make everyone work for us. Then, with the strength of everyone, we must find the Dominator armament, even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground." "Understood, Master." One of the white-clothed men agreed and said, "What if we still can't find it? Then there is no meaning for this planet to exist. We will go to the next place, but according to my feeling, there will definitely be a harvest on this planet." The 2 white-clothed men were very excited. This way, the entire planet would be their backyard. They could do whatever they wanted here and call themselves kings. In the primordial realm, many people had to behave with their tails between their legs. In the new territories, they could completely let go of themselves. This was also a rare experience. The 3 of them split up and began to go to the surrounding continents. This peaceful little planet was about to usher in a catastrophe. Scion star situation was only a small microcosm of this starry sky. For some reason, the martial artists who came to the new territories each had some different discoveries. Then, they began to move forward according to the path they thought was correct and began to search for the Dominator armament. One by one, the superpower houses from the primordial realm entered various planets and came to various starry skies, bringing with them calamity after calamity. A civilized planet called Planet Ruba was being invaded. A powerhouse with a black horn on his head was wreaking havoc in the sky above the planet's capital. This black horn powerhouse looked like a world king, but his strength was simply terrifying. The planet's air defense guards had very advanced aircraft and powerful railguns that were enough to cause harm to a world king powerhouse. They even had elite guards, and the captain was a powerful world king mercenary. But such strength was like paper in front of the Blackhorn powerhouse. Captain World King and the Blackhorn powerhouse should have been evenly matched. The Blackhorn powerhouse only used one move and easily beheaded his opponent, killing him on the spot. The death of Captain World King was also the beginning of the disaster. Aircraft exploded in the sky like fireworks. No matter how many guards there were, they couldn't stop the Blackhorn powerhouse's slaughter. No matter how strong a powerhouse was, they were all ants in his eyes. Rumbling explosions rang out incessantly as buildings collapsed one after another. The capital had already sunk into a sea of fire. The Blackhorn powerhouse stood directly at the top of the Parliament building, a cold smile on his face. Natives of Planet Ruba, I will give you 5 minutes. If you don't immediately and unconditionally surrender to me, then all life on this planet will perish. Don't think that I am threatening you, and don't talk to me about peace and love. You lowly races are not worthy to talk to me, who is about to become a god. The only thing you can do is to obey, unconditionally obey my command and management, and obediently do things for me. Once things are done, I will casually teach you something, and it will be enough to let you stand above the peak of this elementary civilization. The Blackhorn powerhouse's cold methods shocked the people of the entire planet. Soon, under the pressure of the masses, the king immediately announced his abdication and temporarily served as the reception officer for the foreign powerhouse. All the resources of Planet Ruba were allocated by this foreign powerhouse, and the people had to obey his orders. Soon, the new king issued an order to retrieve all the surveillance videos of the entire planet. He wanted to find a light that flew in from outer space. Everyone's dimensional universe records had to be reviewed. All cameras, recording equipment, cell phones, and so on had to be handed over to the government to find news of the flowing light. On the other hand, the humans were searching the planet in groups. They would immediately report any discoveries they made. Lin Jun piloted the thundercloud to the starry sky of planet Napoli. From his point of view, he could see through the atmosphere of planet Napoli and see the mountains, oceans, and cities above. According to the information of the dimensional universe, the capital of planet Napoli was located in the Eastern Hemisphere. However, Lin Jun was not in a hurry to pass through the atmosphere. This was because he could clearly see the billowing smoke and flames in the capital city of Napoli from beyond the starry sky. There was a war in the capital. Not good. It's very likely that I'm one step too late. Someone came to Napoli before me. Lin Jun's mind power began to spread outward and soon reached the top of the capital planet. Lin Jun's mind power swept a circle and then retracted. His expression was solemn. Sure enough, I'm late. Someone has already come to this planet, and it's a lower god. This is going to be troublesome. Although the lower god that Lin Jun saw was only a kais, this kind of kais was too terrifying. Lin Jun was still far from being able to compete with him. However, Lin Jun would not back down, even if the other party was a god. I must get the ruler's armament. You came one step ahead of me, but it doesn't mean that you can find it one step ahead of me. It's not certain who will succeed. Chapter 10:14. After passing through Napoli's atmosphere, Lin Jun landed on the peak of a mountain. Just as he landed, an earth-shattering spiritual sense rushed towards him. It was a lower god scanning him. Lin Jun's heart suddenly trembled. Currently, it was not suitable for him to come into direct contact with a lower god. If he was discovered, it would definitely be an encounter, and it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. The best outcome would be for Lin Jun to escape from Napoli in a sorry state, and he would never be able to find any clues about the master armament. At the critical moment, Lin Jun decisively used polymorph and turned himself into an inconspicuous, lifeless rock. After turning into a rock, Lin Jun rolled into a pile of rocks, and then the terrifying divine sense swept past. Lin Jun's star power sank into the black hole, and it did not leak out at all. He lay quietly in the pile of rocks, and no one could tell that this rock was actually a person who had transformed into it. A second later, a figure appeared in the sky. He was dressed in a fiery red robe, and his hair and eyebrows were red. His expression was arrogant and ruthless, and his blood-red eyes swept across the area. Strange. When I was looking through the surveillance, I clearly saw that the planet's detector captured Lin Jun coming here. He should be in this area. So why is he gone? The lower god's divine sense was like an infrared ray, sweeping back and forth in the area. Lin Jun's aura had been restrained to the extreme. With the black hole and the god world, his star power would not leak out at all. The lower god scanned for a while and did not find anything, and he became a little anxious. Damn it, where did he hide? He raised his hand, and a surge of star power surged out, bombarding the ground directly. In the new territories, no matter how strong the people of the primordial realm were, they could only be limited to the longevity realm at most. Moreover, the longevity realm would be suppressed to a certain extent, and the best level would be the World King. This was also the reason why the new territories could not give birth to longevity. After reaching the longevity realm, there would be some incompatibility with the new territories. Thus, everyone chose to suppress their strength to the World King realm. Like this, they would be able to display the greatest amount of their strength without being affected by the world strength of the new territories. But even with the strength of a World King, the ability of a lower god was still astonishing. It was not something that the native World Kings of the new territories could compare with. With a wave of his hand, he had the power to shatter mountains and crack the earth. The place where Lin Jun was a mountain peak, but under the attack of this demigod, it actually completely collapsed. Lin Jun mixed with the other rocks and rolled down the mountain like a free fall, forming a flow of sand and stones. The lesser gods divine will also closely follow this group of stones, firmly locking onto every single stone. Although there were over 1 million stones here, this was not a problem for him at all. Lin Jun's body was completely empty. He didn't have any control over his body as he bounced down, heading straight for the bottom of the valley. Below the valley was a surging river. These stones rumbled as they rolled into the river, drifting with the flow. After floating a few times, they sank to the bottom of the river. At this time, the demigod's divine will slowly withdrew. But Lin Jun did not relax at all. He still maintained his original appearance, without any changes. After about 5 minutes, the divine will suddenly swept across the bottom of the river. Lin Jun could even clearly feel the coldness of the divine will. He couldn't help but secretly rejoice at his choice just now. If he had leaked the slightest bit of his aura, he would have been detected by the demigod. With the help of an AI, the demigod could clearly record every scene. If there were any unreasonable changes, he would be able to discover them. If he attracted his attention, there would be no chance for him to escape. After a series of attacks, the lesser god still hadn't made any discoveries. Finally, the lesser god gave up. Damn it, could it be that it's not in this pile? But the possibility of it being here is the highest. He flew into the sky and bombarded everywhere. After a few hours, he still didn't find anything. Lin Jun, this guy came here. It's very likely that he'll spoil my plans. I can't allow him to stay on this planet. But I can't find him now. This guy's very good at hiding. Maybe he's hiding somewhere. Although I can't find him, I have a feeling that he's definitely still in this area. Moreover, he's turned into some kind of inanimate object like sand, stone, or trees, dimensional universe, perfectly copy all the images here. If there are any unreasonable changes in any place, immediately inform me in the dimensional universe. I don't believe that you can stay here forever. If that's the case, there's no point in you coming to this planet. Soon, his dimensional universe began to record from every angle. In the sky, between the mountains, within the forest, at the bottom of the river, he took hundreds of millions of pictures of every place. There were also countless images, ensuring that no changes in this area could escape his eyes. This kind of thing was easy for artificial intelligence life forms. This was the power of technology. After doing all these, the demigod finally heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Jun, I saw you coming, but you have absolutely no chance to ruin my plans. If you know what's good for you, get out of this planet immediately or stay here without moving. Otherwise, the raging fire ancestor, will definitely take your life. After threatening him, the raging fire ancestor shook his robe and flew away from the sky. Some of the aborigines of this planet were still not very obedient to his management, which made him a little annoyed. He decided to punish these barbarians and let them know that there was a new master under the sky. He knew that many powerhouses from the primordial realm had come to the new territories and occupied one life planet after another. Whether it was the Sky River Empire, the Sanjian Federation, or even the Fire Kirin Empire, these forces had no ability to interfere with the actions of the powerhouses from the primordial realm unless they wanted to die. Although he didn't know why the other powerhouses were so stupid to run to other planets, couldn't they see that the Dominator armament was coming in this direction? However, the Raging Fire Ancestor wouldn't remind others. He estimated that this era of the gods would last for about a few years. During this time, he had to search here with peace of mind. The new territories entered the era of the gods. Lin Jun has been here for 3 days. But Lin Jun didn't dare to move. Once he moved, he would definitely be discovered by the Raging Fire Ancestor, and everything would be over. He lay in the river and turned into a stone, so he couldn't do anything. At present, planet Nabali must have been ruled by the Raging Fire Ancestor. If Lin Jun wanted to blend into the crowd to find the Dominator armament, the first thing he had to do was to leave here. However, every blade of grass and every tree around him had been completely recorded. Any unnatural changes would be discovered. What could he do to leave? For 3 days, Lin Jun had been thinking about this matter. Lying on his back at the bottom of the river, Lin Jun could see the flow of the water above and see the fish passing by. It would be great if these fish could take me away. As long as I get out of this river bend, I won't be within the monitoring range of the Raging Fire Ancestor. But how can these fish take me away? First of all, small fish can't take me away. It must be a big fish. In the past few days, Lin Jun had also gradually discovered some patterns of swimming fish. There were some big fish in this river. Moreover, these fish were large carnivorous fish and were fierce enough. As long as he planned well, Lin Jun had a chance. The only difficult part was how to do it without anyone noticing. In the river, a blind fish suddenly attacked and swallowed a small fish in a corner. Got it. This scene flashed through Lin Jun's mind, and an idea opened up in his mind. The Raging Fire Ancestor monitors the image. He can see everything here, but he can't smell it. The image can be monitored, and the sound can be monitored, but the smell, he can't monitor the smell. I'm a god-level alchemist, and my mastery of elixirs is definitely not something that ordinary people can understand. As long as I do a little trick, this thing will definitely be done. Lin Jun decided to do it, and immediately released a little elixir fragrance tentatively. The fish in the water were a little restless, but it did not attract the Raging Fire Ancestor. Lin Jun became more confident. This time, he took out a little elixir powder, like dust, releasing a little bit of smell on the surface of the stone he had turned into. Near him, a river crab wobbled its way over. This kind of crab seemed to choose its residence at will. Attracted by the elixir fragrance, the crab lay on the stone Lin Jun had turned into. The arrival of the crab attracted the attention of the big carnivorous fish. A big catfish more than 1 meter long swam over. After circling twice, it swallowed the crab. The crab couldn't dodge in time, and was swallowed by the catfish together with the stone. The catfish swallowed the crab and Lin Jun together. It swung its tail twice, causing waves to surge. Then it began to swim downstream along the river current. All this looked so natural and flawless that even the raging fire ancestor's dimensional universe monitoring was deceived. After the big catfish swam out for more than 10 kilometers, it stopped at the corner of a kernel. Its stomach was gently broken, and the stone rolled out. However, the wound on its stomach quickly healed, and there seemed to be no change. It was Lin Jun who treated it. The big catfish continued to swim without feeling anything. It didn't know what a terrifying existence it had swallowed. Lin Jun stood up from the bottom of the river and turned into his human form. "Huh, raging fire ancestor, you never thought that I would appear like this. Since you didn't catch me today, you won't have such a chance again." Lin Jun's realm began to drop rapidly. From the realm of World King, it even dropped to the level of an ordinary person. Chapter 10:15. The feeling of losing his power made Lin Jun very anxious. For being the top 3 of the Hall of Fame, he felt like he had returned to the time when he had just started practicing martial arts. The loss of power was enough to destroy a powerhouse's mind. Martial artists could do without anything, but they could not do without power. Even for someone with a strong mind like Lin Jun, it took him a while to adapt to his current state. Let's just treat it as a fresh start. But this time, I'm not going to cultivate my realm, but my territory. After tidying up his clothes, Lin Jun began to climb the mountain with difficulty, preparing to leave this mountainous area. He kept the thundercloud in the heavenly realm and did not plan to release it again. As an ordinary person, he had to have the self-awareness of an ordinary person. 2 high-end goods did not match his current status. Now, Lin Jun's star power was 0. All of it was suppressed in the black hole. Those high-level weapons were also put away. Lin Jun relied entirely on his physical strength to climb the mountain. Lin Jun even sealed the power of his Qilin bloodline. Otherwise, when he walked in the mountains, his bloodline power was enough to make all the birds and beasts retreat. That way, he would also be exposed. Even his mind power, immortal spirit body, and immunity to poison were all sealed by Lin Jun. Since he was going to be an ordinary person, then he would be a complete ordinary person. After losing his star power and bloodline power, Lin Jun's physical strength was still abundant, but it was not as strong as it used to be. It was slightly tiring to climb a mountain like this that he could cross easily in the past. Lin Jun found a branch in the mountains to use as a crutch and began to climb with difficulty. It's been more than 1,000 years. Other than when I first started practicing martial arts, I rarely rely on my own 2 legs to walk. Hiss! A poisonous snake suddenly darted out of the dense forest and bit Lin Jun's arm. Lin Jun did not care at all. He reached out his hand and was about to pinch the poisonous snake to death. However, he suddenly lost his strength, and his nerve reaction speed was not as good as before. He did not control the distance well. Not only did he not pinch the poisonous snake, but he was also bitten by the poisonous snake. Damn it! Lin Jun adjusted his strength for the second time and grabbed the poisonous snake and threw it to its death. However, there was still a wound on his body. Lin Jun had not been attacked by beasts in a very long time, except for the time when he was fighting mutant beasts on Earth, especially such ordinary beasts. However, this once again gave Lin Jun a wake-up call. He was no longer the omnipotent Lin Jun from before. He hadn't even adapted to his current strength, yet he was bitten by a venomous snake. Turning into an ordinary person, his immunity to poison was also sealed. Although these poisons were not fatal, they actually caused slight dizziness. I'm really not used to being so weak. Lin Jun did not care too much about the poison. He would not die. Even if he did die, his soul force could rely on the divine realm to be reborn. On this planet, as long as he did not meet the raging fire ancestor, the lower god, he had nothing to fear. Ignoring the spread of the poison, Lin Jun walked to the side of the mountain and rested on top of a rock. Sitting on top of the rock, the wind blew gently and the air was fresh. It was perfect for cultivation. Lin Jun decided to cultivate his territory power here. I can give up on my previous territory. Now, I'll create a brand new territory. The most important thing for my new territory is to combine time, space, and elemental powers into one. Everything is difficult at the beginning. As long as I've determined the direction of the territory and successfully mastered it, it'll be considered a success. Sitting there with his legs crossed, Lin Jun began to form ideas in his mind. Countless images flashed through his mind. What can combine all the elemental powers, as well as the time and space laws into one? I've got it. After thinking for a while, Lin Jun suddenly recalled the scene of a star exploding in his days. In the beginning, the universe had yet to be born. All matter was condensed into a point in an almost limitless way. This point exploded and formed space. Only then did time have a foundation for its existence. Then, it began to expand like a geyser, forming a sky full of stars. When it expanded to a certain extent, it became the primordial realm. The external radiation of the primordial realm continued to spread, forming new territories attached to the primordial realm. This is the formation of the universe. The initial form of all powers is a point. My territory power also has to start from a point. Let it expand naturally and develop slowly. This is the best way to form a territory. Time and space become one, seamless. After figuring this out, Lin Jun felt enlightened and immediately began to cultivate. Lin Jun concentrated and compressed all the elemental powers into a point. This is the beginning of my territory power, the origin. The concentration and compression of the elemental powers is only the first step. This step isn't difficult. The difficult part is the embedding of the time and space laws. Fortunately, I've mastered time stop. At least I'm not completely clueless. In a daze, Lin Jun began the embedding of the laws. This was a very difficult task. The method to integrate two laws and elemental powers was so complicated that it was enough to crash a computer. Lin Jun could only do it step by step. First, he embedded the space laws. Lin Jun did not know how long he had been doing this step. At this moment, he forgot one thing, which was that his body was still in a poisoned state. Although the poison would not affect his life, Lin Jun ignored it, and the poison still spread. After 7 or 8 days, Lin Jun's body was severely poisoned. Lin Jun's resistance to pain was very strong. In his opinion, even if he was poisoned, he could just eat some pills to recover. It was not a big deal. However, he had forgotten that once he started cultivating, he would ignore the passage of time. In these 7 or 8 days, he had completely forgotten about the outside world. Embedding space. I have to start from point. Point, line, plane, solid, step by step. Now, my basic point of space has finally merged with the basic point of the elements. Now is the time. In his dantian, a strange point appeared. The compression of the elemental powers, the power of earth, water, fire, and wind gathered together, forming a point that looked small but had a huge amount of energy. With the addition of the space elements, these things had a foundation. The two merged into one, forming a light green, chaotic, highly compressed point. However, the point was still in a basic state. When the energy accumulated to a certain extent and time was embedded, this point would explode and become Lin Jun's domain. At that time, whatever ideas Lin Jun had or what characteristics of the battle techniques, they could be reflected in the domain. After completing this, Lin Jun let out a long breath. The basic structure of the domain was half completed. At least his cultivation was not in vain. As long as he completed the other half, he could wait for his growth. After relaxing his mind, Lin Jun suddenly felt dizzy and fell to the ground. The poison had attacked his heart. He was severely poisoned. After all, it was the body of an ordinary person. After sealing the black hole beast bloodline, immortal spirit body, and immunity to poison, Lin Jun was no longer the King Kong made of iron. Oh no, I might faint for a few days and then let my body recover on its own. Lin Jun didn't even have the strength to take out the elixir. He just lay quietly on the rock, his consciousness blurred. Asterisk, 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 a triangular bull vehicle, a specialty of planet Napoli, passed by the mountain. There was a Bauhinia symbol on the vehicle, which was very famous on planet Napoli. The Bauhinia was the AI family's flower and the symbol of the family emblem. The AI family was a first-class aristocrat on planet Napoli. The family's industry spread over half of the planet, which was absolutely second to none on this ordinary life planet. If it were in normal times, when a vehicle with the Bauhinia emblem passed by here, the ordinary civilians would definitely salute and avoid it. But today was different from the past. Now, all the aristocrats and the royal family of planet Napoli no longer had supreme power. At present, the power was concentrated on the raging fire ancestor, who had informed the whole of planet Napoli. 3 days ago, the raging fire ancestor had completed his rule over the entire planet Napoli. Almost all the royal aristocrats had declared their loyalty to the raging fire ancestor. The era of God had officially arrived. The same was true for the AI family. After declaring their loyalty, the raging fire ancestor didn't embarrass these aristocrats. He just let them use their power unconditionally to help him find something. The person the AI family had declared their loyalty to was AI Sean. He killed the former head of the family, AI Xing, who was his brother, and took over the family's power. AI Xing's only daughter, Avril, escaped in the chaos and fled the capital. No one knew where she went. At present, AI Sean was sending people to hunt down Avril. As long as the girl who had inherited the family's power was completely eliminated, he would be the only legal head of the AI family. Miss, this road is a little bumpy. You have to bear with it a little. After passing through here, we'll leave the Broken Mountain area. We'll go on the main road, and it won't be long before we reach Ping'an City. When we get there, you can find Teacher Mark. He will definitely find a lot of warlord powerhouses to help you return to Napoli and regain control of the family. The coachman was sweating profusely. While driving, he kept looking back for fear that the pursuers would catch up. The three-horned bull pulling the carriage was also panting. After a long journey, even this bull, which was known for its endurance, was almost unable to bear it. Avril looked out of the carriage. Her slightly thin cheeks and deep gray eyes were full of sorrow. Could she recover the family if she found Mark? Avril wasn't so optimistic. Now that AI Sean had taken control of the entire family, would Mark still be able to help her? But Avril had no choice. If she didn't resist, she would die. She had to take a gamble. The scenery of the Broken Mountain area swayed in front of her eyes. Avril's eyes wandered. What is that? In a flash, Avril suddenly saw a person lying down. Stop! Someone seems to be injured. Miss, let's go quickly. We can't even protect ourselves now. How can we have time to help others? I'm not only a member of the AI family, but also a doctor. It's not my style to leave someone in the lurch. Stop. Chapter 10:16. Avril got off the carriage, one hand holding the corner of a complicated noble girl's robe, the other holding a medicine box. Her chestnut-colored hair was slightly curled. Her pretty face and skin condition all showed that this girl wasn't raised by a normal family. Her steps showed her foundation as a martial artist. As an intermediate warlord, Avril was definitely worthy of being called a genius among girls. Arriving at the rock, Avril squatted down. A man was lying on top of the rock. Avril had never seen such a man before. Strong and tall body, sharp features. Even if he was lying there without moving, he still emitted an endless masculine aura. This was a real man, a man bursting with male hormones. Avril's heart beat a little faster. She reached out her small hand and checked the man's condition. He's poisoned, bitten by a mutated black triangle. She quickly saw the snake bite wound on the man's arm. She could even easily tell what kind of snake it was, and the man's skin condition was a little dark, proving that he had been poisoned for quite some time. Uncle Wong, help me carry this person to the carriage. Avril called out anxiously, and the coachman followed after her. As Avril's carriage driver and bodyguard, the man surnamed Wong wasn't weak. He was a beginner-level warlord. The current situation of planet Napoli was similar to the time of Earth's god transformation. There were warlords, star realms, and mutated beasts everywhere. Humans had always been in conflict with beasts. Warlords could be considered experts, but they weren't at the top. Arriving beside the rock, he was a little hesitant. "Miss, we don't know where this person came from, and we're currently on the run. There are pursuers behind us, and there's also the possibility of meeting mutated beasts at any time. It's a very big risk. If we recklessly bring him along, there might be some unnecessary trouble. No, we can't just leave him in the lurch. Whether we can escape or not, it doesn't matter if we have one more person or one less. Listen to me on this matter. Take him away immediately." Okay. The warlord, surnamed Wang, couldn't argue with Avril. He could only carry Lin Jun all the way to the carriage. "Miss, we might have to speed up from now on. I'm worried that AI Shan's people might catch up at any time." Let's go." AI Shan urged the ox cart to accelerate. There was even a faint flicker of light under the tri-horned ox's feet. Its speed suddenly increased by several times. This was a unique ability of this kind of magic beast. Avril began to treat Lin Jun in the car. Avril's movements were very skillful as she removed the dirty blood and applied medicine to the wound. However, when her fingers occasionally touched Lin Jun's body and felt the steel-like muscles, Avril's heart would beat faster. "This man is really strong. He should be a martial arts genius. Sigh, it's a pity that I can't even protect myself now. I hope that I won't bring you any trouble if I bring you along." Avril's beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of worry. This trip to Peace City could be said to be an uncertain future. Would Teacher Mark be able to provide enough help to her? Avril was not confident at all. The car staggered forward. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Jun opened his eyes. In fact, he had been awake for a while, but he did not immediately move. Instead, he used Crazy to check on what happened after he fainted. Crazy was an artificial life and could accurately record any valuable information. She quickly reported to Lin Jun how Avril treated him. She even recorded some of the conversation between Avril and the coachman. Lin Jun already knew the general situation before he opened his eyes. The situation in Napori was similar to that on Earth. Most people lived in the base city. Unless it was an extremely special situation, very few people would take the initiative to leave the base city. Avril had no choice but to drive away from Napori and go to Pingon City. In order to avoid being hunted, she had to leave her hometown and ask for help. However, whether she could successfully reach Peace City was still unknown. Without Avril's help, Lin Jun would have woken up soon. However, Avril's treatment did provide some relief. Although she didn't really need it, Lin Jun still needed to owe Avril a favor. "You're awake. That's great. I was worried that you wouldn't wake up soon." Avril saw that Lin Jun had woken up and smiled happily. "Thank you, beautiful lady," Lin Jun said as he tried to sit up. Avril hurriedly supported him. "You must not move. You were bitten by the mutated black triangle. The poison is still in your body. You should not move. You should focus on recovering." "All right, then I will disturb you." Lin Jun was too lazy to walk. In that case, he would follow Avril's car. "I am Avril from Nabali City's Avril family. What is your name?" "My name is Lin Mu. I am a wanderer." "Hello, Lin Mu. You can come with me on this journey. I will do my best to protect your safety." Avril seemed to be very interested in Lin Jun. She chatted with Lin Jun along the way. Nabali was in a relatively chaotic period. Several countries on the continent were still competing with each other. Mutated beasts were the common enemy of the people. However, as the warriors grew stronger, the people were able to gain a foothold. They did not expect that a powerful raging fire ancestor would suddenly appear and easily conquer the entire planet. Because the situation was similar to Earth, Lin Jun could often bring up some constructive topics, which made Avril very interested. "Lin Mu, I see that you are not old and your body is not bad. Have you practiced martial arts?" Avril took the initiative to ask this question. Lin Jun looked less than 20 years old. Of course, she could not see the depth of Lin Jun. Lin Jun smiled. "Miss Avril, I'm already a powerful warrior. It's just that I'm injured now and can't use my strength for the time being. Tisk, you and I are about the same age. You can't be too strong. At most, you are a beginner warrior. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been bitten by a low-level mutated beast like the Black Triangle." Avril's beautiful gray eyes showed a trace of dissatisfaction. She had been staying at home after learning medicine and alchemy. This was the first person she had treated outside. She had a good feeling about Lin Jun, but she did not expect Lin Jun to love to brag. However, she could also understand. Avril was the #1 beauty in Nabali City. Most of the young people who saw her usually liked to pretend to be strong. Lin Jun was probably the same. It was all because of his ridiculous self-esteem. Lin Jun was speechless for a moment. What she said was not wrong. When he was dealing with the snake, Lin Jun was not used to his current strength and speed. That was why he was injured. With a sigh, Avril said, "You still need some time to recover from your injuries. Surviving in the wild is very dangerous. You almost lost your life when you encountered the Black Triangle. Why don't you stay with me for now? Uncle Wong, who is driving the carriage, will protect us. He is a warlord, so we should be able to reach Peace City without any problems." Lin Jun nodded. Avril, whom he had met by chance, was already very good to him. The carriage continued to bump along the road. The road was very normal. Avril did not speak and closed her eyes to rest. The driver was very experienced and strong. They encountered 2 mutated beasts along the way, but Avril did not have to get off the carriage. The driver dealt with them. However, Lin Jun could also tell that the coachman was only able to deal with grade A mutant beasts at most. If they encountered rank S or higher, or a group of mutated beasts, Avril and Wang Chong would be in danger. However, these things didn't mean much to Lin Jun. He just lay there and continued to cultivate patiently. The point of origin in his body had been repeatedly compressed by Lin Jun using the power of the black hole to a certain extent. What he needed to do now was to embed the law of time. Lin Jun spent many years to master time stop. Now it finally came in handy. However, mastering it was one thing. If he wanted to perfectly fuse the law of time, the law of space, and the elemental energy together, it was very difficult. From the moment he got on the carriage, Lin Jun began to work. Under the effect of time deceleration, one day was 24 days for Lin Jun, but he still did not gain anything. Phew, so difficult. I already have all the hardware conditions to cultivate God's domain, but just the embedding of the law of time is enough to stop too many people. With my talent, I can't see any hope of completing this process for the time being. If it were any other martial artist, they might not be able to do it in their lifetime. The embedding of the law of time was somewhat stagnant. Lin Jun had to stop for the time being. There were some things that he did not have a clue about for the time being. It was not something that could be broken through in seclusion. It required an instant of comprehension. "Chris, can you assess my current physical condition and abilities?" "Master, your current strength, speed, and reflexes are about equivalent to an advanced warrior. This is the limit after you conceal your strength. Your physical fitness determines that you can no longer be a real, ordinary person." "Okay, an advanced warrior is good enough. The lowest requirement for my cultivation of God's domain is the warrior level. However, why can't I have a breakthrough after cultivating it?" "Master, according to Mr. Lello's advice, you should still adapt to your current identity and strength. This will be good for your mastery of God's domain. Using your strength as one of the top 3 in the Primordial Realms Hall of Fame to comprehend a warrior-level God's domain. This mentality itself is wrong." Chris's words stunned Lin Jun for a moment. Mentality. That's right, mentality. Chapter 10:17. Chris's words were like enlightenment, waking Lin Jun up in an instant. Yes, it was his mentality. Ever since Lin Jun came here, apart from the Raging Fire ancestor, Lin Jun had not taken anyone or anything on this planet seriously. What was there to care about on a planet that he could even destroy with a flip of his hand? Just like how humans would never put ants in an equal position, Lin Jun's mentality was still the same as when he dominated the primordial realm, when he was in the top 3 of the Hall of Fame. With such a mentality, it was undoubtedly impossible to comprehend a warrior-level domain. After receiving Chris's reminder, Lin Jun knew that he had to make change. He wanted to treat himself as a real warrior level and start from scratch. "Chris, is there any way to selectively lose part of my memory? I want to become a real warrior now and forget some things for the time being." "Yes, but that requires the dimensional universe programming, and then requires your cooperation, Master." "What kind of cooperation do you need?" Master, please choose some things that you want to keep. I will keep the memories that you must keep, and then seal the memories that you don't need for the time being. They can be unsealed at a specific time. Lin Jun thought for a moment. Then keep my memories about the comprehension of combat skills and my alchemy memories. Okay, I've set up such a program for you to let you think that you're an ordinary person on planet Nabali and that you're now a high-level warrior. This will also facilitate the concealment of your identity. In addition, I'll keep a memory of wanting to obtain the Dominator armament for you so that you won't miss this important thing. As for your realm, when you master the domain of divinity, your realm will automatically increase along with the progress of your domain. As for your memory problem, you can let me help you recover it. When you encounter a life or death crisis, it will automatically recover. Lin Jun waved his hand. Don't be in such a hurry to recover it. It doesn't matter whether those memories are temporarily recovered or not. Without a breakthrough, it's useless to recover them. Well then, I'll do as you ask, Master. Anyway, you've been cultivating all the way until now. All right, that's it. My soul can rely on the God realm, so I won't truly die. Then, Master, I'll begin. The name I've set for you is Linmu. You're an orphan from a small base city on planet Napoli. That base city was attacked by mutant beasts 3 months ago. You're now a wanderer. Let's begin. Lin Jun felt a sharp pain in his head. He released the instinctive defense of his spiritual sea, allowing Crazy's dimensional universe to temporarily cover a portion of his memories. This might be inconceivable to ordinary people, but it wasn't difficult for artificial intelligences. About 20 minutes later, Lin Jun opened his eyes. His head felt heavy. He opened his eyes and looked out of the car window in a daze. The scenery outside the window was strange yet familiar. In his mind, he recalled the scene of a base city falling into enemy hands. Why am I here? What is this place? That's right, I am Linmu. My hometown fell into enemy hands. I escaped. I was bitten by a snake. Someone saved me. The person who saved me is a noble lady, Avril from the capital city of Nabali. She's a war general, a doctor, and a servant at the level of a war god. Her situation isn't very good either. Lin Jun looked at the noble lady in front of him. She was a beautiful lady. Even in a difficult situation, she still maintained the elegance of a noble. Lin Jun touched his space ring. There was only a black iron spear and a few mutant beast cores. The black iron spear was a very common weapon. The mutant beast cores were actually harvested by Lin Jun when he was on Earth. They had been stored in the space ring for many years. When Crazy sealed Lin Jun's memories, she also sealed most of the things in the space ring. Because Lin Jun had too many items, it was too shocking to bring them to this small planet in the new territories. It was simply not suitable. And now, Lin Jun accepted all of this very naturally. This was because in his current memories, he was a poor martialist. Looking at the beautiful noble lady in front of him, Lin Jun wanted to repay her. Cores: a B-grade core, 2 C-grade, and a D-grade core. These things are not that valuable, but I don't have anything else. These things can be considered as a thank you gift. Thinking in his heart, Lin Jun took out the things. Miss Avril, thank you for your help. Lin Mu only has these little things. When Avril saw the crystal core that Lin Jun took out, her eyes lit up slightly, and there was a trace of gratification. But she decisively rejected Lin Jun. Lin Mu, your strength is not high. It must be difficult for you to get these things. You should keep them yourself. I didn't save you for these things. Although Lin Jun lost his previous memories, he could still see that Avril really didn't want them. He silently took back the things and closed his eyes. I'm looking for an item. It's a very important thing. At present, the whole of Nabali may be looking for it, but I can't remember what it is. I also want to cultivate my domain. Although I can't remember why I want to cultivate this, it's also very important. Crazy Seal was very skillful. She only kept what Lin Jun had to do. Everything else that interfered with Lin Jun's mind was completely sealed. Moreover, Lin Jun's martial heart was pure, and he would not pursue those unnecessary answers. While thinking, the coachman in front suddenly said to Avril in the carriage, "Miss, Look at the situation in the dimensional universe. Now, the Raging Fire Ancestor is collecting cores from everyone on the planet. Collecting cores? Why? Avril was stunned. It's said that the Ancestor has found what he was looking for, but it requires a large amount of cores. He requires everyone on the planet to pay a core tax. The people in the city are collecting from door to door, and the people outside the city who want to enter must also pay the core tax. Otherwise, no one can enter the city. Avril frowned slightly. My teacher, Mark, is a respected elder in Ping and City. Can't I enter the city? Miss, I'm afraid it's not possible. I saw that AI Sean has issued a reward. If you appear in front of Ping and City now, and there is a dispute over the core tax, it will definitely attract the attention of others. Not only can you not enter the city, but you may also be attacked. The only way is to get enough cores outside the city, then quietly enter the city and go directly to Mr. Mark. Avril's eyebrows drooped as she realized that she was no longer the only legal heir of the AI family. How much does everyone have to pay? 10 A-level cores, or the equivalent low-level cores. After Avril heard this, she didn't feel much. This time, she came out in a hurry and didn't bring her own wealth. Otherwise, this amount of cores wouldn't be a problem. Seeing Avril's expression, Uncle Wong sighed, Miss, 10 A-level cores aren't that easy to get. Even if it's an A-level mutant beast, I don't have the confidence to deal with it. If it's an A-level mutant beast, I can only flee. Today is different from the past. We don't have any wealth in our hands. If we want to gather these cores, it will take at least a month. Furthermore, there are more than just the two of us. As Uncle Wong spoke, he glanced at Lin Jun. His meaning was clear. It was fine for the two of them, but if they brought Lin Jun along, he might not be able to do anything. Avril also hesitated when she saw Lin Jun. She had a good impression of Lin Jun, but this was a serious matter. If she continued to bring Lin Jun along, he would be a burden. But for her, to abandon Lin Jun like this, she still felt that she couldn't bear it. After struggling for a while, Avril made a decision. Uncle Wong, I saved Lin Mu. If I abandon him now, it will lose the meaning of saving him. I've decided. Before she finished speaking, Lin Jun suddenly stood up. Miss Avril, I'm very grateful for your help, but I never want to be a burden to anyone. I'll solve the problem of my cores myself. You don't have to worry about me. Lin Mu, you're still injured. Don't be impulsive. I'm not being impulsive. Miss Avril, I hope everything goes well for you. If you don't mind, can we add each other as friends in the dimensional universe? The warriors of planet Nabali also had a dimensional universe, but their dimensional universe was special. It was in a semi-developed state. Because the Dimensional Universe Corporation felt that the value of this planet wasn't high, they hadn't fully invested in it. At present, their dimensional universe was only limited to the internal communication of this planet and couldn't communicate with the outside world. Nabali itself wasn't connected to the Sky River Universe Nation, so it was still relatively isolated. However, they could add friends in the dimensional universe. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Uncle Wong immediately became vigilant. Country boy, our miss is a noble. You'd better restrain yourself. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Don't be a toad who wants to eat swan meat. Avril waved her hand to stop Uncle Wong. Okay, if you have any difficulties, you can contact me. Although I can't guarantee that I can help you, at least in terms of medical skills, I may be able to help you a little. As she spoke, Avril placed a few antidotes in Lin Jun's hand. Take it. I don't have many good medicines left. These can continue to help you remove the poison in your body. Lin Jun nodded and accepted them, putting them in his space ring. At this time, he saw that there were some medicines in the corner of his space ring. Although he couldn't remember how he learned it, Lin Jun remembered that he knew alchemy. In one of the small bottles, there was an improved 9-transformation golden pill. It was a miracle medicine that could bring the dead back to life. Lin Jun took out a 9-transformation golden pill and gave it to Avril. If your life is in danger, you can try this. It said that it can bring the dead back to life. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Uncle Wong couldn't help but snort. Hee, you might have read too many myths about the strong. I've never heard of any medicine that can bring the dead back to life. Chapter 1018. After leaving Avril, Lin Jun walked into the wilderness alone. He was an advanced warrior, but he knew that his strength was not at the level of an advanced warrior, although he did not remember where his combat experience came from. Planet Nabali's land and ocean occupied almost half of its surface area. The land area was very large, and most of it was wasteland. Once upon a time, there were countless cities on the land. Later, when the disaster happened, most of the cities fell and became ruins, becoming a paradise for mutant beasts. Lin Jun came to an abandoned house. He wanted to try to embed the time law again. He vaguely remembered that his previous efforts had failed, and now he might have a breakthrough. Inside the broken house, Lin Jun began a new round of breakthroughs. The infiltration of the time law was as difficult as ever. 3 days and 3 nights were equivalent to more than 2 months for Lin Jun. In these 2 months, Lin Jun was about to succeed several times, but when he was about to see the light of success, he would inexplicably fail. The time law was about to complete the infiltration, but at the last moment, there was no movement at all. It was like a pool of stagnant water, motionless. It was like a withered tree. No matter how hard you watered and fertilized it, it could not bring any vitality. What's going on? Where am I lacking? At this time, Chris appeared again. Lin Jun remembered that this was his artificial life, but he did not remember how it came about. In short, it was not important. Master, you are still missing the last step. What do I lack? Activity. Your domain origin lacks activity. You need something with energy to stimulate it. Otherwise, you will not be able to complete the infiltration. Oh, what is it? The crystal core of a living creature. Lin Jun's eyes lit up. Do you mean the crystal cores of mutant beasts everywhere? No, not mutant beasts, but humans. In your genes and blood, there are more parts that belong to humans. Mutant beasts' crystal cores will not work. Only humans will work. Lin Jun frowned. But where am I going to find human crystal cores? There is. When Nabali was first hit by the cataclysm, there were things called zombies. They were transformed from humans. They also had crystal cores in their bodies, but after so many years, most of the zombies have been completely wiped out. Now, it is the world of mutant beasts. However, I found a place on the planet's forum that still has zombies. Where? It's the Buddhist Light Temple in the Three River City, which is about 500 miles away from Peace City. The humans there are all monks, and these monks practice a kind of golden body secret art. Their bodies are so tough that they won't rot, and they survived after becoming zombies. They are very powerful, and they all stay in the Buddhist Light Temple. For so many years, many people have tried to kill these monk zombies, but they all failed. Were these monks that powerful? They have not been destroyed for thousands of years. Yes, because if you want to kill these monks, you have to kill the abbot of the Buddhist Light Temple. The abbot always hides at the end and can revive the zombie monks. The reason why everyone failed was that they couldn't kill the abbot in one go. Therefore, the Buddhist Light Temple became the only place where zombies gathered. However, the monks stayed in the temple and didn't come out, so people turned a blind eye to them. Lin Jun stood up immediately. Since they have become zombies, they must be destroyed no matter what. They can't stay in the temple. I'm one of the Buddhist temple now. Master, you'd better hurry. Because of the raging fire ancestor, I saw on the planet's forum that many warriors want to go to the Buddhist temple to collect zombie crystal cores. That place will soon become popular. In the bloody field outside Peace City, there had been countless battles. The dark red ground had been stained with the blood of countless warriors and mutant beasts for thousands of years. It was said that the ground was black in the past, but now it was dyed red with blood. Stepping on the ground, the tip of his nose could even smell the smell of blood. In front of him, there were shadows and sounds of people. There were signs of fighting everywhere in the wilderness. After the raging fire ancestor issued the order, many people had to leave the city and come to the wilderness to hunt mutant beasts. The mutant beasts also felt that human beings had come out in full force and began to become manic. They appeared from all directions and fought with human beings. However, the mutant beasts in the wilderness were not powerful. The real, powerful mutant beasts were in the city. Lin Jun's target was Sanjiang City. Sanjiang City was located in the northeast of Peace City, at the intersection of 3 rivers. The terrain was dangerous. Millions of people used to live there, but now it had become an out-and-out devil's den. Ignoring the fighting in the wilderness, Lin Jun went all the way to the northeast. There were many people with the same purpose. In front of him, there was a team of 4 warlords who also seemed to be going to Sanjiang City. Seeing Lin Jun coming from behind, a warlord sneered. Another one who wants to take advantage of others. If you have the ability, go to the front yourself. You scoundrel who follows behind others. Lin Jun passed by them without saying a word. The warlords were a little surprised. This guy, does he want to die? A dark cloud swept across the sky. It was a huge eagle. The warlords stopped in their tracks and cautiously got into formation to prevent the eagle, whose strength had reached the peak of rank, from attacking. However, the eagle did not attack them. In its view, Lin Jun, who was alone, was undoubtedly a better target. Flapping its wings, the eagle descended from the sky. This guy is dead, a warlord asserted. In the blink of an eye, the eagle swooped down rapidly, but they saw a shocking scene. This high-level warrior took out a long spear and attacked with lightning speed. The speed was not top-notch, the strength was not top-notch, and there were no fancy moves. It was just a simple spear, but it just happened to stab the eagle's throat. The distance and precision of this spear was simply breathtaking. Old Eagle was stabbed to death by this advanced-level warlord without any ability to resist. With a shake of the long spear, Lin Jun took out the crystal core from the eagle's brain. B-class crystal core, just passable. In addition to the Raging Fire Ancestor's request, Lin Jun also instinctively felt that this crystal core seemed to be useful to him, so he put it away. Ignoring the dumbfounded warlords behind him, Lin Jun continued to move forward. His footsteps were very fast, and in a moment, he disappeared from their sight. Heavens, am I seeing things? Is this guy still a warrior? His combat skills, I've never seen him before. I believe that even the #1 expert of Planet Nabali, Song Ming, might not have such skills, right? How come I've never heard of such a person's existence? Berserker, with my warrior's intuition, I can clearly feel this guy's arrogance. He's a berserker. These people inadvertently gave Lin Jun a name, Berserker. In the south of the bloody wilderness, Avril and her coachman were also in trouble. A small team of hunters finally caught up with Avril in an abandoned town. The leader of the group was an intermediate warlord with a hideous smile on his face, holding a halberd in his hand. He led 6 or 7 high-level warlords to block Avril and her coachman in a corner. There were a few corpses on the ground. It was obvious that the 2 sides had just engaged in a fierce battle. Hee hee, beautiful Miss Avril, you really made us look for you. In order to catch you, 3 of my brothers were even killed by mutant beasts. Now, a few more people have died. How do you think we should settle this debt? Avril's arm was even injured, and the coachman in front of her was covered in wounds. Avril's face was pale as she looked at the warlord opposite her. She said angrily, Chen Yu, don't forget who took you in when you first came to the AI family. Now, you actually brought people to deal with me. You heartless thing. Hee hee, my young miss, how many years have passed? You're still flipping back. I came to the AI family for glory and wealth. I've said this before. Now, it's obvious that you can't give me these things. The only thing of value you have now is your youthful and beautiful body. But are you willing to give it to me? Bah, dream on. I know you won't give it to me. Even if you give it to me, I wouldn't dare to take it. You're still a member of the AI family. I just want your life to report back. I won't cause any trouble. Chin Yu's face turned cold. I'm not going to waste time with you. Brothers, send them on their way. The surrounding people whistled and attacked Avril and her coachman. Miss, leave quickly. The coachman, Uncle Wong, roared. He dragged his heavily injured body and charged forward. His Dantian chi exploded, and he killed 2 enemies with 1 strike. Avril knew that Uncle Wong was using his life to buy time for her. She didn't dare to delay at all. She waved her sword and pushed back an opponent in front of her. Then, she rushed out with all her might. Don't even think about escaping. You guys kill this old fart. Leave Avril to me. Chin Yu waved his sword and chased after him. After the other people sacrificed another life, they finally pierced Uncle Wang's heart with their long swords. Chinyu originally wanted to capture her alive, but Avril was a warlord after all. Under her fierce counterattack, it was difficult for him to succeed. You don't know what's good for you. Then I'll send you on your way. Clang! The weapons clashed. Avril's long sword was sent flying. She felt pain in her chest. Chinyu's long sword had already pierced through her chest. Avril's vision turned black as she fell. She felt her life slipping away. Chinyu pulled out his sword and glanced at Avril, who was lying in a pool of blood. He felt that it was a pity, but he couldn't disobey AI Shan's orders. Turning around, Chunyu began to use the dimensional universe to report to AI Shan. Master, it's a success. I've killed Avril with my own hands. Yes. Their resistance was very fierce. A few of our brothers died, but fortunately, we succeeded. Okay. You want to see her body? Okay, I'll show it to you now. After reporting for a while, Chinyu turned around. But the scene when he turned around almost made his eyeballs fall out. The bloodstains on the ground were still there, but Avril, who had clearly died just now, was gone. This. Where did she go? Chinyu suddenly gritted his teeth. Could it be that Avril didn't die just now? That shouldn't be the case. Chapter 1019. The difference between Nabali and Earth was that the cities here were not as modern. The tallest building in the ruins of Sanjiang City was the pagoda of the Buddha Light Temple. There were not many mutant beasts along the way, but there were many mutant beast corpses. It was obvious that many people had come here in advance. Get out of the way. Grandpa's shuttle doesn't have eyes. Lin Jun dodged to the side. Behind him, a figure flew past on a shuttle-shaped weapon. A warlord nearby curled his lips. What's there to be proud of? He's just a telekinesis master. I've seen dozens of telekinesis masters. You'd better keep your voice down. This is a warlord telekinesis master who cultivates both Dantian Qi and spirit power. We can't afford to offend such a person. I know. But when I think of so many people coming to the Buddha Light Temple to snatch the crystal nuclei of the zombie monks, I'm worried. I'm afraid we won't get much. Yeah, no one cared about the Buddha Light Temple because it was difficult to fight. Now, because of the Raging Fire Ancestors' request, people are swarming here. There might be a fight. So be it. As long as we don't fight with warlords and telekinesis masters, I'm confident we can still get something. When Lin Jun arrived at the entrance of the Buddha Light Temple, there were already many people there. The tall sign still stood after thousands of years, but the mottled blood on it and the piles of bones on both sides made the temple look scary and gloomy. Mutant beasts ran rampant in Sanjiang City, but there were no mutant beasts in the Buddha Light Temple. There were also fights between mutant beasts and zombies. The zombies in the Buddha Light Temple were so strong that even mutant beasts didn't want to provoke them. Therefore, there was a long and narrow area around the Buddha Light Temple, which was considered a safe zone. When Lin Jun arrived, there were already dozens of people in the safe zone. Some people were contacting others to form a team to enter the temple, while others were watching. Lin Jun didn't want to form a team and ignored the people around him. Instead, he stepped forward and came to the front of the sign. The gazes of the surrounding people followed Lin Jun all the way until Lin Jun walked into the temple. A one-eyed warrior licked his lips and said to his companions, "Look, a senior warrior who doesn't know the difference between life and death." A battle general next to him said, "His level is too low. He can't be counted as a fat sheep. Even if we follow him, we probably won't get much. Let's wait and see before we decide. I'm not interested in this kind of person. I bet $10,000 that he will run out in less than 5 minutes. I bet 100,000 that he will never come out." The others were also indifferent. In the eyes of the average person, a senior warrior did not have much value at all. It was not worthwhile to fight for him. Passing through the tall stone steps behind the signboard, Lin Jun finally entered the interior of the monastery. "Master, I found all the information about Buddha Light Zen Temple. Tell me about it." Buddha Light Zen Temple was originally a martial arts holy land on planet Napoli. The monks here are all quite strong and are mainly divided into 4 levels. The monks in this front yard are all young monks and disciples. They are basically all at the warrior level. They are led by a warrior-level monk from the Arhut Hall. There are more of them. After the front yard, the middle yard is the Arhut Hall. Those monks all have some cultivation. They are all at the warrior level. Their leader is at the warlord level. In the backyard is the Wisdom Hall. There are not many monks there, but they are all at the warlord level. They are led by a star-level monk from the Dharma Hall. The last small yard is the Dharma Hall. There are a few star-level monks with the abbot. The abbot seems to be at the meteor level. He also has the ability to resurrect other monks. So, after so many years, this Buddha-light Zen temple has not been destroyed. The main reason is that the abbot is too difficult to deal with. Lin Jun nodded. No matter how difficult it is, we have to deal with it. No matter what, we have to meet for a while. Stepping forward, Lin Jun soon saw the first monk zombie. This was a young monk in gray robes, staggering forward. If it wasn't for the horrifying face after the mutation, this zombie would have been relatively well-preserved. To deal with this kind of warrior-level zombie, even if Lin Jun's current realm was not high, it didn't take much effort. He stepped forward and stabbed with his spear. When the tip of the spear entered the body, he felt a slight obstruction. Lin Jun even saw a faint golden light flash on the monk's forehead when the spear pierced through the forehead. This was probably the golden body secret art that the monks of the Buddha-light Zen temple cultivated. However, this level of resistance couldn't change anything at all. Lin Jun killed the zombie with one shot and collected the crystal core in its body at the same time. Holding the crystal core in his hand, Lin Jun felt a slight restlessness in the origin in his body. Active. The crystal core of this humanoid zombie is indeed active. It is good for the origin's fission. However, the energy contained in this small crystal core is too little. It is not enough to change the origin's nature. At this time, Lin Jun saw a golden light coming from afar and landing on the zombie on the ground. The zombie's crystal core slowly began to recover in the golden light. It was estimated that this zombie would be resurrected in less than a day. There is indeed something special about this. These zombies even retain many of their habits and abilities from when they were alive. The crystal core of that meteor stage abbot must be very powerful. Lin Jun continued forward. There weren't many zombies in this first courtyard. Instead, there were some corpses everywhere. It seemed that someone had already swept through this place. He didn't stop here. He went through the courtyard and went straight to the next courtyard. After passing through a moon arch, he quickly arrived at the next courtyard. In front of him was a hall called Arhut Hall. There were even many weapons for training in the courtyard. As soon as Lin Jun stepped into the courtyard, several topless zombies turned their heads. After seeing Lin Jun, these zombies immediately let out a series of howls and rushed towards Lin Jun with weapons in hand. As expected, the higher the level of the zombie, the more different they are. These zombies even know how to use weapons. Lin Jun flicked the long spear in his hand and took a big stride forward, stabbing at one of the incoming zombies. Lin Jun's stab was the simplest but also the most practical spear technique. It brought out the sharpness of the spear and its indestructible characteristics to the extreme. The warrior-level zombie also didn't have much resistance against Lin Jun's spear. Its throat was pierced by Lin Jun's spear. However, this zombie grabbed Lin Jun's spear when the spear was in its throat. It opened its bloody mouth and roared, but its body didn't move. Not good. These guys actually know how to cooperate. It's buying time for its companions. Seeing the other zombies rushing over, Lin Jun decisively gave up on the spear. A light flashed in his hand and a long sword slashed, killing two zombies that approached him. He didn't know when he learned this sword technique, but it was instinctive. After killing the zombie that grabbed the spear, Lin Jun pulled back the spear. These warrior-level zombies still aren't a threat to me. The only thing that's worth worrying about is their cooperation. I'll have to pay more attention in the future. He continuously dug out the crystal nuclei of several warrior-level zombies. These crystal nuclei were much stronger than those of the warrior-level zombies. However, they still couldn't satisfy Lin Jun's needs. With a thought, the origin emitted an aura that directly melted and absorbed these crystal nuclei. After a few streams of vitality poured in, the origin only changed a little. If 100 points of energy are needed to fully activate the origin, these active energies can't even reach 1%. I still have to find more crystal nuclei. Lin Jun looked down on the warrior level and warrior level crystal nuclei. He wanted to go to the third courtyard and find War God. Although there was still a big gap between his current strength and War God's, Lin Jun believed that with his superior martial arts and combat experience, War God wasn't invincible. In the river where Lin Jun escaped, two people stood by the river. One of the metallic life forms' eyes emitted a red light and was carefully scanning. Beep, beep, beep. After a series of alarm sounds, the metallic life form stopped. Sharon, did you find anything? I found something. According to the previous photos, a stone was swallowed by a fish and then carried downstream. The metallic life form said, and sent a picture of a fish to the long-haired man next to it. The long-haired man instantly remembered the fish's appearance. Then, he immediately covered the river with his mental power and searched for this fish among the thousands of fish. Found it. It's 7,000 meters downstream. The two of them teleported, arriving 7,000 meters away. The long-haired man raised his hand, and a fish appeared in his hand. This was the fish that Lin Jun had used to escape. Sweeping it with his mental power, he easily discovered the wound on the fish's belly. The patriarch guessed correctly. Lin Jun will definitely find a way to escape, which is why he had you and I come to help find him. Look, there was something in the fish's belly that left. It was definitely Lin Jun. As the long-haired man spoke, he turned to the metallic life form. Sharon, can you find Lin Jun based on this aura? The metallic life form carefully scanned the fish's belly and nodded. Definitely. I'm not a flesh and blood life form. No matter how Lin Jun changes, he is different from me. I can find him based on this aura, but that will take time. Good. It's good as long as we can find him. Lin Jun is definitely still on this planet. I estimate that he should be a world king right now. Let's start our investigation from the Star Realm to the World King Realm, focusing on the World King Realm. I don't believe that Lin Jun can truly ascend to the heavens and dive into the earth. Chapter 1020. The long-haired man and the metallic life form began to track down Lin Jun. These two people were very strong. Like the raging fire ancestor, they didn't belong to the new territories. If they were in the primordial realm, these two people really wouldn't dare to provoke a haul of the exalted expert like Lin Jun. However, in the new territories, everyone's strength was greatly suppressed. They were confident that they could fight Lin Jun in a short time. As long as the raging fire ancestor arrived, Lin Jun would die without a doubt. The problem now was to find where Lin Jun was hiding. They began to investigate all the star realm and world kings on this planet according to the information. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. It was the fourth day since Lin Jun came to the Buddha Light Temple. After entering the third courtyard, Lin Jun finally began to encounter powerful zombies. These war god-level zombies were invulnerable and very difficult to deal with. Every time Lin Jun attacked, their bodies would flash with golden light, and the power of golden body secrets would be displayed to the extreme. Lin Jun always had to attack continuously to break through the defense of these monk zombies and kill them. In front of him, two tall monk zombies were confronting Lin Jun. These were the two strongest people in the Prajna Hall, second only to the head zombie. These two zombies looked much cleaner. They even had tattered kasayas on their bodies, and their faces weren't so tattered. They were just an inhuman pale green color. Behind the two tall zombies, a pale zombie was resting with its eyes closed. This was the head zombie of the Prajna Hall, a Star Realm expert. According to the legends on planet Nabali, this Star Realm zombie had only been killed twice in history, and both times were when the martial artists had the advantage in numbers. The head zombie of the Star Realm and the two peak War God Guardians were the strongest people in the third courtyard. Lin Jun's hand, holding the spear, trembled slightly. These two peak war gods were too strong. The difference in strength between Lin Jun and them was too great, to the point that it was almost impossible to make up for it. Roar! A zombie roared and rushed over from the side. Lin Jun's spear trembled, and 3 spear flowers shot toward the zombie's eye sockets and mouth. These 3 places could directly connect to the zombie's brain, and once hit, the zombie would die. If Lin Jun was a warlord now, he would definitely be able to kill this zombie easily. However, the strength of a warrior was still too low. The zombie calmly raised its claws and blocked Lin Jun's attack. The first zombie successfully blocked the attack, but the second one immediately followed from behind, bringing along a burst of fishy wind, fiercely pouncing towards Lin Jun. Lin Jun didn't dare to continue fighting and quickly retreated. Just as Lin Jun was about to dodge, the war god zombie behind suddenly hit the zombie in front, causing the zombie in front to accelerate and instantly appear in front of Lin Jun. A force that could topple mountains and overturn seas surged over. Lin Jun only felt a sweet taste in his chest, and a mouthful of blood rushed out of his mouth. His body flew backwards, and this time, he received an injury that was neither light nor heavy. The zombie's body fell, but Lin Jun didn't care about the effect of the injury on himself. Now that the zombie's attack had paused for a short while, it was the time to counterattack. Liquid metal. The liquid metal that first followed Lin Jun and made great contributions appeared. 2 high-end weapons were all sealed. Only this kind of low-level stuff could be used. Lin Jun turned the liquid metal into a shield and stepped on the shield to quickly advance. Not only was he a warrior, he was also a spirit reader. Although he was only an advanced warrior, he was still at the initial stage of gold rank. At this moment, his arms stretched to the limit. Lin Jun swung his spear, wind and thunder surged, and his spear shot out like lightning. The zombie's body was in a free-falling state and didn't have the ability to dodge or counterattack at all. Pooh! The spear pierced through the zombie's eye sockets, and with a release and retraction, a crystal core was already in Lin Jun's palm. This was the first peak war god zombie that Lin Jun killed. However, Lin Jun knew that this was practically his limit. Lin Jun didn't keep the crystal core in his hand and directly let the origin in his body absorb it. A powerful active energy was injected. This peak war god zombie's crystal core increased the origin's energy by a full 0.5%. These few days of hard work already caused the origin's energy to reach 4%. After killing a peak war god zombie, Lin Jun didn't continue to attack. Although he had the confidence to kill another peak war god zombie in a one-on-one situation, this would definitely provoke the Star Realm to make a move. No matter what, Lin Jun couldn't fight against the Star Realm right now. This wasn't something that could be made up for with technique. After a day, the war god zombies here would still revive. Lin Jun wasn't in a hurry. Stepping on the shield, he got rid of the other zombies' entanglement, and Lin Jun left the battlefield. However, he didn't leave Fo Guang Temple, and instead continued to wander around other places. When he encountered a lone zombie, he would immediately kill it and collect its crystal core. Inside the Dharma Hall at the back of the temple, streams of light continuously shot out, reviving the dead zombies one after another. This kind of revival instead gave people a lot of opportunities, allowing people to have an endless supply of crystal cores to collect. Lin Jun even felt that the reason why Fo Guang Temple hadn't been destroyed for so many years was very likely because people intentionally let it be and treated it as a never-ending place to collect crystal cores. On the 5th day, Lin Jun's Origins activity increased to 6%. On the 7th day, it increased to 9%. On the 10th day, Lin Jun completed an increase of 12%. After calculating the time, Lin Jun felt that he would definitely be able to increase the activity to 100% in at most 3 months. At that time, he would be able to smoothly enter the time law and open the God's domain. During this time, Lin Jun gradually became familiar with some of the people in Fo Guang Temple. Lin Jun had always been alone and moved alone. Although people didn't know where Lin Jun moved, seeing that Lin Jun could survive here like a fish in water, people gradually recognized his strength. Every day, Lin Jun would go in and out of the temple, and there would be some people who would greet Lin Jun. Half a month later, Lin Jun came out of the temple. "Hey, isn't this the Berserker Lin Mu? What? Where did you hide to kill zombies today?" "Yeah, I'm also very curious. I've been moving around in the disciple area every day, but I haven't seen you. I also didn't see you at the Arhut Hall. You wouldn't have run over to the Great Wisdom Hall, right? A few warriors laughed and teased, but no one thought that Lin Jun would really go to the Great Wisdom Hall. That was the war gods area, and Lin Jun didn't have the strength to do so. Lin Jun also laughed. He walked in front of the crowd and set up a stall. Everyone, today, I'll be buying monk zombie crystal nuclei. If you have any, you can sell it to me. You can buy it with money, or you can use medicine to exchange for it. Saying that, Lin Jun placed some medicine on the stall. After a few days of hard work, Lin Jun realized that with his own strength, it would take too long to complete the activity, so he wanted to buy it. Buying things in the new territories, this bit of money was insignificant for Lin Jun, but the effect of buying with money wasn't necessarily ideal, and other people didn't need money that much. But some medicine was different. As a god-level alchemist, Lin Jun casually made things that were treasures in the new territories. Therefore, in these 5 days, Lin Jun had concocted a large batch of medicine and was preparing to make a big purchase. At first, when they heard that Lin Jun wanted a purchase, not many people even looked at Lin Jun. This was because there were too many people who wanted to purchase crystallic nuclei. Everyone was hiding their money, and no one was sure of money. But when Lin Jun placed the medicine on the stall, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Am I seeing things? This is the spiritual energy awakening medicine. That's right, that's right. This color, this concentration, this is a top-grade medicine. Damn, no one can steal this berserk strength medicine from me. Brother Linmu, name a price. Whether you want money or crystal nuclei, just say the word. Little brother, I really didn't expect you to know alchemy. On our planet Nabali, I've never heard of anyone who has such high achievements in alchemy. Who did you learn from? Lin Jun smiled, but didn't say anything. On this small planet, the concept of alchemy didn't exist. Alchemy was a very high-end profession, but this level of alchemy couldn't even be considered an alchemist apprentice in the primordial realm. Of course, Lin Jun didn't have the concept of the primordial realm in his mind. He didn't know how to explain these things. In short, he knew it, and it was enough that he could use it now. Originally, it was something that Lin Jun came up with on the spur of the moment, but he didn't expect it to cause a fight. All the medicine on his stall was swept clean by people. Basically, no matter what price Lin Jun offered, these people wouldn't bargain. Lin Jun didn't ask for sky-high prices either. Every medicine was reasonably priced, and he didn't cheat anyone. Soon, there was nothing left of these medicines, and he collected a lot of crystal nuclei. About half of them were warrior-level crystal nuclei, and the rest were general-level crystal nuclei. There were also quite a few battle god-level crystal nuclei. 2 of the dazzling star-grade crystal cores had been taken out by a telekinesis master at the level of a warlord. This was a huge gain for Lin Jun. Lin Jun might not be able to collect so many crystal nuclei in 2 months. After putting away his stall, Lin Jun quickly entered the interior of the temple under everyone's gaze. He had to find a safe place to absorb the crystal nuclei. The interior of the temple was full of danger, but it could effectively isolate people. This place was actually safe for Lin Jun. Seeing Lin Jun enter the temple, some warriors who originally had some thoughts gave up. Lin Jun's whereabouts were mysterious, and he hadn't been discovered in the temple. Everyone thought that Lin Jun would be in the first courtyard, but he wasn't found in the second courtyard either. However, no one doubted that Lin Jun could go to the third courtyard. There were battle god-level zombies there, and Lin Jun couldn't possibly survive there. Chapter 10:21. Entering a room on the second floor of the monastery, Lin Jun immediately began to absorb the activity. This process was fast, but it was also slow. The speed was indeed fast, but it was slow because the number of crystal cores was too high. Lin Jun spent 10 minutes to absorb a large pile of warrior-level crystal cores. After absorbing these crystal cores, the activity of 12% increased to 21%, an increase of 9%. After absorbing the warrior-level crystal cores, it was time for the general-level crystal cores. The general-level crystal cores were relatively fewer in number, But the absorption speed was also not fast because these crystal cores were relatively large and contained a lot more energy. This time, Lin Jun spent 20 minutes to absorb all the crystal cores. It increased from 21% to 43%, an increase of 22%. Seeing that the origin had begun to glow slightly, Lin Jun became more and more excited. What had seemed like a long and endless process of absorption had finally become within reach after exchanging for the crystal nuclei. Even if the increase this time was not enough, Lin Jun believed that he would be able to fully increase it by refining another batch of medicine. After that, it was time to absorb the war-level crystal cores. This time, the absorption took nearly 20 minutes again. This time, the origin energy had increased by a whopping 37%, allowing the vitality contained within to reach 80%. Phew, there's hope. Only 20% left. I wonder if these 2-star realm crystal cores can provide me with enough energy to completely open the origin and comprehend the domain. Lin Jun took out the first crystal core and absorbed it. After a full 10 minutes, the crystal core was completely absorbed, and Lin Jun's body activity increased to 90%. Good heavens! It's really the power of the star realm, an increase of 10%. As long as this one increases by another 10%, I'll be considered a success. Filled with excitement, Lin Jun absorbed the second crystal core. This one seemed to be a little inferior to the first one. When Lin Jun finished absorbing it, the activity reached 99%. This discovery made Lin Jun a little depressed. 99% was a very sad thing. He was so close to not being able to complete it. Damn it, just a little bit more. No, I have to find another crystal core immediately. Even if it's a low-level one, many little drops make an ocean. I can still complete the gathering of activity and activate the domain. Lin Jun finished absorbing and was about to leave when the dimensional universe suddenly rang. It was not someone contacting him, but Chris who initiated the call. Chris, what's the matter? Haha. Master, this is a heaven-sent opportunity. Avril is in danger. Lin Jun frowned. What are you saying? Avril is being hunted and she's running. She's very close to you, and she's still getting closer and closer. Master, your chance to be a hero to save the damsel in distress. Master, your hero saving the beauty. Crazy didn't mind watching the show, but she had already forgotten that her master was only a high-ranking warrior. You're saying that Avril came here? You can lock on her location? Yes. Locking onto the location of new territories is too easy for me. The dimensional universe here is not perfect. It's much worse than the primordial realm, so I could do it easily. Oh, right. You don't know what the primordial realm means. You just have to make sure you're not going to save Avril. Lin Jun closed his eyes slightly. This was a critical moment. His holy domain was about to be completed. He just needed to get a few more crystal cores, and he would be able to have 100% activity. But Avril's situation was very dangerous. If he spent any more time condensing the domain, Avril might die. If it was the Lin Jun before his memories were sealed, he might choose to improve himself first. But now, Lin Jun had lost most of his memories. He did not remember many people in his life. Avril was the first person he remembered, and this person had saved Lin Jun's life. Lin Jun could not leave her in the lurch. I'm not a hero saving a damsel in distress, but I have to have a clear conscience. Otherwise, my martial arts will not be perfect. Lin Jun quickly made his choice. Since Avril was already in front of him, it was fate. He could not ignore it. Ignoring the crystal cores, Lin Jun held his spear and listened to the footsteps according to Chris's instructions. Avril seemed to be in a panic. If she went to a dangerous place, she might be able to live a little longer. Hurried footsteps came to the door of the third courtyard. There seemed to be a lot of pursuers. Avril, don't struggle. It's better to fall into my hands than to stay here and feed the zombies. Tell me where the family's treasure is. I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll have to bring your body back for a proper inspection. The sound of footsteps came closer and closer, and Avril was about to jump over the wall with a flutter of clothes. Lin Jun was right next to the wall. He saw two figures pass by at the same time. The sword in the person's hand was already close to Avril's back. she would die in the next second. Lin Jun made his move at this time. He raised his spear and set the sky ablaze. A high-level warlord chasing Avril was caught off guard and was stabbed to death by Lin Jun. Avril's body fell to the ground. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Linmu. Avril rubbed her eyes. She could not believe that she had escaped death. She could not believe that the person who saved her was Linmu. Lin Jun looked over Avril. He immediately realized that she had taken his 9-transformation golden pill. Miss Avril, I think this isn't the first time I've saved you. Avril's little head immediately nodded, but the panic in her eyes did not decrease. Lin Jun, hurry up and run. This is only a warlord. There are war gods chasing after me. Even my uncle AI Shan is here. You won't be able to stop them. Lin Jun's mental power moved. He immediately felt several auras quickly approaching from behind. One of them was a strong, true inner force fluctuation. He could clearly feel it even through the wall. When a martial artist entered the star realm from warlord, their dantian would transform into true inner force. This was a qualitative leap. Lin Jun could deal with warlord-level zombies because zombies could not compare to true warlords. He could not stop a true warlord, not to mention a Star Realm expert. Lin Jun stepped forward without hesitation and grabbed Avril's hand. Come with me. The two of them quickly charged forward. At this time, the pursuers behind them also arrived. 5 or 6 experts passed through the walls of the temple. Under the lead of a red-haired man, they easily blew away a group of zombies blocking their way and appeared in the courtyard of the third entrance. Ha ha. I was wondering why Avril ran here. So she has a lover here. He really isn't a good person. Since it's like this, it's even more justified for me to clean up the AI family. Several attacks were launched from these people. Lin Jun's liquid metal turned into a shield again. He stepped on the shield and rose into the air, dodging the attacks with Avril. Lin Jun rushed to the fourth courtyard amidst the rumbling explosions. He wanted to rely on the powerful zombies there to block the pursuers. However, they were a warrior and a general. They were too naive to think they could escape from a Star Realm expert. Just as he arrived at the wall, a light flashed. The red-haired man, AI Shan, had already teleported to the top of the wall. All Star Realm experts could teleport. At this time, Lin Jun and Avril's momentum was set. If they did not break through this Star Realm expert's obstruction, it would be difficult for them to escape. There was no way to retreat. They could only fight. Facing a strong enemy, Lin Jun resolutely shook off Avril's hand. His instincts told him that as a martial artist, he could not easily give up. No matter how strong his opponent was, a clear mind could often create miracles. Lin Jun gathered all of his essence, energy, and spirit. He activated his martial intent. Invincible. This was a kind of realm, a kind of indomitable determination to fight. Lin Jun clenched the spear in his hand. The tip of the spear emitted traces of cold light. He gathered all of his strength and stabbed out. With his mind clear, this spear had reached an unprecedented level. Even in the Yuan realm, Lin Jun had never performed at this level. AI Shan was actually a bit timid in the face of Lin Jun's life-risking attack. This was a very inconceivable thing. As a Star Realm expert, when had he ever placed a high-level warrior in his eyes? He never thought that this little warrior in front of him would actually unleash such a stunning spear attack. In an instant, the spear arrived. AI Shan suddenly shouted, "Idiot! The difference in our strength is not something that can be made up for with skill. Even if you kill me, only death awaits you." AI Shan raised his hand. Starlight flickered. He actually ignored Lin Jun's sudden attack and swung his sword. The spear and sword hit their target at the same time. Lin Jun's spear shot the Star Realm expert down from the wall. Blood splattered from his chest. He was injured on the spot, and it wasn't light. However, Lin Jun also paid a huge price for this. AI Shan's sword pierced through his heart. His body softly fell to the ground and rolled into the dust. AI Shan vomited blood and fell to the ground. He was also heavily injured. Damn it, where did this bastard come from? A high-level warrior, ugh. He can actually injure me to this degree. Bastard, I'll burn your bones to ashes. AI Sean raised his hand. Raging flames roared out and completely vaporized Lin Jun on the ground. Avril, who had witnessed all of this, was dumbfounded. The moment Lin Jun disappeared, she felt as if a piece of her heart had been gouged out. No! Avril screamed at the top of her lungs. However, she couldn't stop this from happening. AI Sean endured the pain and stood up. He let out a chuckle. He was now full of himself. In his eyes, everything was settled. Avril wasn't a match for him at all. Although the reinforcements she found had some tricks up their sleeves, they were now nothing more than a wisp of dust and a few drops of blood in the air.